The Beverly Hills Unified School District Board of Education meeting. It is April 13th. It is 5:26. I'm sorry for the delay. We had some
technical issues, but they seem to have been taken care
of,
of.
and I welcome you all to tonight's meeting. First on the agenda is the closed session. Dr. Brady, was there anything to flag?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wait. So I have open session here. No, open call to the
flag salute. I'm very sorry. I was reading about. Please stand.
And I would like to ask David Davenport, please read the pledge of allegiance.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, David.
Okay,
can I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Yes, I'll move to approve the agenda. I'd like to move item 15A to 11C, 15B to 13D, and 15C
to 12C.
Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the motion. All those in favor? I didn't get a second.
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we have a little bit of change later on in the agenda. Okay, Dr. Brady, report of the closed session, please.
President Marcus, there was no action from closed session this evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, it is of course a pleasure with what we're about to do, and that is to highlight our teachers and our students at this time. That's always the highlight for me, and I would like to turn it over to Dr. Brady, who will introduce
the team of people who will be presenting.
Thank you. I'm particularly very excited about the presenters and the people that we are going to recognize this evening. We have a lot of really good things coming your way that's very exciting that we have not had at our board meetings before as far as recognition. So I'm going to turn this over to Assistant Principal at Beverly Hills High School, Mrs. Decathlon.
Thank you, Dr. Brady. Can everybody hear me? I want to make sure my tech is working. Yes, okay, good. Thank you. So, hello and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back here with all of you to highlight the outstanding achievements of our students and our staff. One of the highlights of my job, so thanks for having us all back. And to begin, we have Miss Anne Marie Fine with us. Miss Fine is a 21-year-old veteran at Beverly Hills High School teaching history and Latin classes. Miss Fine, did you wave so we can all see you and find you? This is her second year teaching and coaching the academic decathlon team along with Coach John Johnson. She is with us this evening to explain a little bit about the academic decathlon program and to introduce the team of students who have had recent successes at both the county and the state levels. So Ms. Fine, I turn it over to you. Where'd you go? There you are. We can't hear you yet.
That's her screen. She's sharing. The sound cut out though. I think that's just her mic.
Okay, I'm letting her know.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ms. Fine, we'll give you a few moments to tinker with that, and then we'll come back, okay? We have many people here with us this evening, so why don't we why don't we introduce Miss Allie Norman Franks? Miss Norman Franks, are you ready?
Sure. Hi, all.
Okay. Well, I have a little blurb about what you're going to say. So let me share. You're going to be speaking with us tonight about the various wellness programs that are offered through the Norman AIDS Center, just to kind of give us all some context. And we're very grateful here at the high school and in the district for this valuable programming, because it's also evolved into a full curriculum at this point. And this curriculum creates opportunities for our students to acquire the social, emotional skills and the tools that they need to take care of themselves and each other, which is so important now more than ever. So just to set the stage a little bit, and Ms. Norman Franks, why don't you tell us about those programs?
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to share a little presentation here. All right, can you all see that? Yes, perfect. All right, so I'm going to talk about the different wellness programs that we offer throughout Norman Aid, and it's been so helpful right now, especially on distance learning. It's allowed us to reach students and to advertise for the different types of programs that we offer, and to normalize getting help and support seeking. So our monthly aid program is a program we offer every month. You can see on here the different themes that we have around mental health and wellness. And then we offer, going back to that slide, we offer a Wellness Wednesday program. We also offer a podcast, and it's all designed around the theme for the month. So this month is our Healthy Relationship Month. And there's so much to talk about with healthy relationships. So we divided up into 4 different core practices. So allyship, love is love, acceptance, and respect. And for our Wellness Wednesday program, it's been so helpful being on distance learning. I'd say one of the highlights for me is doing the Wellness Wednesdays. So I've been able to work with our awesome PE and athletic teachers, and they've done an amazing job of sharing our curriculum. So every week, students get to participate in our Wellness Wednesdays, and that includes different screenings of shows. So we've showed Angst, Liked, and other really important films. This month, we're screening Straight Laced, and that's actually happening this week. So it's around the different pressures that students experience, as teenagers experience around gender and sexuality. We also are able to have different speakers come in and talk to students. This month we have Katie Wilcox, and she'll be talking about body image and accepting yourself. We have Jonathan Crystal, and he'll be talking about teen safety and talking about different ways to make sure students can avoid sexual violence and misconduct. We have the podcast that our amazing KBEV students help us with. And the podcast is also designed around our monthly aid theme. So this last week was our allyship theme. And so we were lucky enough to have Rich Waters, our administrator, and one of our current students, Alia, and a former student, Dr. Marks, share their experiences with discrimination and how we can come together as a community to strengthen our community through allyship. In addition to providing the education for students, we also encourage staff to get involved in our program. So since last week, we've been encouraging staff to be allies to our transgender and non-binary students by sharing their pronouns through Zoom, through social media, through their email, and we've already had students reach out and say that it's made them feel safer on our campus. So huge thank you to David for making that possible for teachers to be able to save their pronouns on Zoom. We also provide education to parents as well. So it really helps having these monthly themes. It allows us to share information with parents, but then, share information with students, but also making sure that the parents are involved and hearing the same messages. So when the kids go home and they talk about what they've heard, that the parents are able to communicate and support them as well. So this month we have a parent night that I encourage all parents to participate in, and it's about healthy relationships. And we have 3 incredible speakers who will be talking about healthy boundaries, teen safety, as well as LGBTQ identity. This month has been our first month where we've launched a peer counseling mentorship program. So also designed around our theme, our peer counselors are reading stories, videotaping themselves, and our administration and counselors at the elementary schools are able to share this with students. They will also in the future create lesson plans to go along with those. So as I've been sharing with my peer counselors, it's never too early to start learning about healthy relationships. So they've been a huge ally in supporting sharing this message. And we've also partnered with our library, and they're offering different books, handpicked selected books around our monthly themes that students can access digitally, as well as later when they're on campus, they can get the books. Every month we have on our website around our themes, we have different resources and education for students so they can learn more about the programs that we provide. So it's a resource so that if students don't feel comfortable going into Norman Aid and seeking support there, that they can go onto our website and find a wealth of information from podcasts to listen to, books to read, videos to watch, and tips and tools on how to help their friends and themselves. All right, well, I'm going to share one of my favorite parts of this program this month is the allyship video that we created with our staff and students and KBEV. So I'm going to show you a quick video. I just did.
I could chat it then.
Allie, can you hear us?
It's the whole of the Zoom account here.
The subtitles are the words. The subtitles.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause this because it sounds like there's no sound. Was there sound? Oh, darn it. Okay, well, I will just encourage all of you to take a moment and go onto YouTube and watch this incredible video. I'm sorry there wasn't any sound. I don't know why that was happening. Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you for inviting me and allowing me to speak today and talk about our programs. I also want to thank you for funding the partnership I've had with them to create these programs, as well as marketing and communication has been really valuable. And I've been able to work with them as a team, and I really appreciate you supporting that. So thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Allie, I've been familiar with the program for a couple of years, and I'm so excited about this program and the fact that it's offered to everybody, and I just wish that everybody would take advantage of it, because at some time or another, we all need some kind of help from something like Norman Aid. And I just want to thank you, and I'm sorry, I did watch the video at home, so I saw it once before, and I would just think it's a marvelous program, and we're so fortunate to have you and the program here at the school. So,
Thank you.
Can I just ask President Marcus, just so I want to check with KBEV if there's any troubleshooting that we can do. I also have watched the video, and it's exceptional and brave, and I would really like to just take a moment to see if there's any troubleshooting, if there's anything we can do, because I'd really like to be able to show it if possible.
Maybe somebody else can share it. It's on YouTube.
Someone can share it here.
I wonder if I could, or I can't have my sound on.
Yeah, if she sends the link, I could just click on it.
Send it like through the chat, or?
Hold on 1 second, yeah. I'm gonna try it.
I really do. I think it's worth taking a few minutes to see if we can sort this out.
Thank you.
I love the fact that it's...
While we're waiting, I'm going to take this moment also and just and thank Allie for what she has done over the years. Is okay, so I just wanted to say really quickly while we're troubleshooting this. There we go. This is much more important than what I was going to say.
African American Catholic,
Asian, Korean,
Persian, Jewish,
mixed race, Christian,
Jewish, gay,
Iranian, gay, transgender, female, Asian, Korean,
are doctors, educators, healthcare professionals, Christian, military veterans,
Jewish,
and leaders.
My passions are writing,
Hello.
Ni hao.
안녕하세요.
This is about you.
This is about Beverly. Bisexual, female,
Hispanic, gay,
Iranian, Muslim,
African American Catholic,
Asian, Korean,
Persian, Jewish,
mixed race, Christian,
Jewish, gay,
Iranian, gay, transgender, female.
My family mentors are doctors, educators, healthcare professionals, military veterans, and leaders.
My passions are writing, psychology, and film.
I love animals and teaching.
I speak English, Farsi, Spanish, and Mandarin.
I go to school in Beverly Hills, but I live on the other side of Los Angeles.
We all attend the same school. We belong to the Norman Nation.
But
You and I come from different worlds.
you and I have different advantages.
Unless you have experienced it, you can't truly understand what it's like to be labeled as the representative of your race.
To be the only one in the room.
To be gay bashed, bullied, condemned, and judged for being yourself.
To be forced to defend yourself simply because you're Muslim. To be the subject of terrorist jokes and to be asked seemingly absurd questions like, do you hate all Jews or do you support ISIS?
To explain to my daughter's teachers and friends' parents to be sensitive to the fact that my daughter has 2 moms.
Unless you've experienced it yourself, you cannot know what it is like to be catcalled, harassed, and to feel unsafe on a walk home just for being a female.
To feel the fear of overwhelming anxiety.
To relearn your body in another gender and feel unlovable because of what parts you have.
To be a first-gen immigrant student, to connect with a new culture, and translate literally everything for your parents.
Students all over the world are bullied and discriminated against because of
their gender identity, sexual orientation, or
just because of their race, or
because of their religion, or
due to their socioeconomic status, and all of these things, and more.
Every person deserves to be respected at school.
To be valued.
To be represented.
To be safe.
People who are targeted need support from those people who are not. We need an ally.
Allyship is an active practice of reevaluating your beliefs and action.
And taking on the struggle as your own, but in solidarity.
We need to recognize the ways we are privileged.
And use it to amplify underrepresented voices.
We all could need an ally. We all can be an ally.
Take the time to learn to be an ally.
Don't put the responsibility onto minorities to educate you.
The more you do it, the better you get at it. Together as Mormons,
we can all
be allies.
To learn more about how to be an ally, visit bhhs.bhusd.org/ally/.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share that. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad we did. Thanks, Ms. Norton, and thank you for everyone who was involved in creating and sharing the video. We have a few other folks here as well. So shifting a little bit, changing gears, Ms. Fine, I think we're able to, maybe we'll be able to hear you and you can tell us about the academic decathlon.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me now.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So let's see if I can share this presentation. Academic Decathlon has been at Beverly Hills High School since 1982. And it's a unique program in that it's both a team and a class. It's an elective open to all students. You don't have to have a certain GPA to be in here. In fact, we need students from all GPAs and all levels and all interests because you need a team of actually 9 different students. 9 honors students, you need 9 scholastic students, and 9 varsity students. So, I mentioned those students. This is also the type of program where all those students actually start working from May the previous year. So they're studying all summer long, and they're studying to compete in 10 different collegiate activities or events. They have speech, they have interview, they have essay, they're studying economics, art, music, math, science, history, literature, and all of those events center around a specific theme that changes every single year. This past year, it was the Cold War. So this is a constantly evolving program. It's all about individual effort and teamwork. In fact, this was last year's team. They did very well. Only a few of those students actually made it into this year's team because due to the ever-changing nature of the theme, students sometimes decide, no, this theme doesn't really fit. The next theme is a better fit. As a result, this year's team of Agi Banataba, Georgia Evanson, Clement Murphy, Bianwi Fomakong, Kate Kotler, Alexander Bakshian, Scarlett Topolo, Devin Yacobi, Alexander Schulman, have done extremely well. They scored very highly at regionals and made it into the state competition. At the LA County Regionals, students scored in literature. They medaled in social studies. In fact, Agi had the top score in social studies. She even had a perfect score in interview. She also scored in speech and essay. Clement, he scored in music, essay, speech, and interview. Kate scored in essay and interview. Georgia scored in essay, speech, and interview. Bianwi scored in speech and interview. Scarlett scored in speech and interview. And Alexandra scored in interview. Students also received or earned K-Club pins. These are pins that are earned by students who score over 7,000 points. And the students who earned those were Georgia and Alexandra. So those students earned the bronze pins. That means they scored over 7,000 points. Agi and Clement scored over 8,000 points. Basically, each event scores 1,000 points. That would be the perfect score. And so, ultimately, our students did really well at regionals, enough that we made it into state. At state, students who medaled had to be in the top 3. So students were competing for very, very selective medals. As you can see, Agi, she earned medals in art and science. Clement earned medals in art and social science. Alexandra earned a medal in art. Scarlett earned a medal in interview. Kate earned a medal or earned medals in science and music, and Bianwi earned a medal in speech. In fact, Bianwi has actually been asked to present her and record her speech for a summer showcase at the California Academic Decathlon. As a result, you have students who earned K-Club pins, Agi, Clement. They both earned silvers, which means they scored over 8,000 points. Georgia, she earned a bronze, which means she scored over 7,000 points. And Clement, he scored the second highest in the honors category in our entire state division. So he was just amazing. Every single student on this team improved their overall scores from regional to state. So everyone worked extremely hard to try and do the best that they could absolutely do. Alexandra Bakshian, she actually went ahead and entered the inaugural heptathlon contest. Basically, that was where she was doing all the objective tests in all of the content categories. She did not compete in interview, essay, or speech. And she earned 15th out of all the hundreds of students who were in that particular contest. So I was just extremely proud of all of these students. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and give students a chance to talk about their experiences. So if I could ask Agi to go ahead and talk for a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Klein. Okay. I wanted to start out by saying that Academic Decathlon and all the different parts of the competition at first seem very daunting, but what is particularly special about our competition and our team is that we make learning fun for each other. And that's something that I have experienced in the past 2 years that I've been here. I want to share my story regarding this team. I moved here in 8th grade, and that's when I started to speak English fluently. And I joined the Academic Decathlon in my sophomore year. And at that point, what the Academic Decathlon helped me find was my voice. And really the ability to talk confidently and express my ideas, and specifically because our competition involves speech and interview, which pushes you to talk about the things that matter to you and make you feel passionate. And every single one of our students on our team has had the opportunity to do that. The team has also made me and a lot of my team members better students, because as Ms. Fine mentioned, we learn about everything regarding to the theme. We this year studied music, art, and everything about the Cold War. And throughout that, we made it fun for each other. And as team captain this year, I had the chance to watch my team members grow as students and as decathletes. And I think that was the most important and incredible part of my experience this year. We went from a student asking us about the different parts of the competition to them acing every single part. And that was really incredible for me to watch. I think our accomplishments speak to how hard we worked, but one thing that is not shown is like the challenges that we had to go through for this year being online. For example, I haven't been able to meet some of my team members on the team in person, but throughout the year, as Ms. Fine mentioned, we started working in the summer and we did study, but we also really got to know each other. We did online activities like Jeopardy and online trivia and even Among Us games. And I think that we really were able to get to know each other. And what I really want everyone to know is that Academic Decathlon is for every student, no matter your strengths or your weaknesses. And it helps you build on your strengths and get better at your weaknesses and improve. So I've had a great opportunity this year and last year on this team, and I want to thank Ms. Fine and everyone on the team. And I'll pass it on to the next team member to share about their experience. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Agi. Georgia, I know that you would like to speak as well, and we do have a couple other students after Georgia.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name's Georgia. This was my first year on Academic Decathlon, and I'm so happy that I joined. At first, I had this misconception before I joined that Academic Decathlon was only for the absolute smartest students, and I was very daunted by it. But quickly, I gave it the chance and I learned that Academic Decathlon is for everybody. As Guy was saying, no matter what your GPA, no matter what your interests, there's something that everybody is gonna love. And I'm so happy that I gave it the chance and joined, and I had a really excellent year. I think for me, one of the biggest parts of it was not only learning so much about the Cold War, which is our theme this year, but also learning how to learn together and work with others. Because I think teamwork is a really important life skill and career skill that every student needs to learn how to do. And not only did we learn how to work really well together, but we also that helped us learn so much better and improve and do so well and at the competition. And I'm super proud of all of us. One thing for me that I was very happy with this year is I got to improve my public speaking skills with the speech and interview section of our competition. It was something that I used to be very scared about doing. And I think I've improved so much with the help and the guidance of my team. And I'm so happy that I took the opportunity to join the team this year so I could really improve myself in the public speaking area, the teamwork area, and really all areas of my academics.
So I just want to thank all of you for being here. I'm personally feeling very inspired. I feel like I want to go study about the Cold War now and just study in general. I mean, it's very impressive. And one of the things that I find most interesting and impressive and inspiring is that you are clearly very intrinsically motivated, right? We're improving from the region to the state level. We're meeting our personal best. Despite the challenges, you guys are reaching out to each other to form those connections and have fun and push each other through the process despite the distance learning and the limitations of Zoom. So thank you for, just making us so proud and being amazing competitors and students. We're so proud to have you as part of our Norman family. And thank you, Ms. Fine, for coaching them to greatness and all of the work you do supporting them. So just real quickly, we're gonna move, we have one more amazing program to highlight, and we're a little bit short on time because we're struggling with our tech a little bit, but I think this is kind of a good example of all of the challenges our teachers are working so hard to overcome to be able to teach and maintain that level of high quality instruction. We have Miss Karen Lagola with us next. She has been, a huge support to all of us in not just overcoming technical difficulties and learning new technology and equipment, but how do we use these things to our advantage, and how do we use these things to drive quality instruction and curriculum? So Ms. Lagola is an I4 coach, and an I4 coach is an educational, technology, and instructional coach. So at the high school, she's working with our teachers, and she's going to share with us about a special professional development program that we have going at the high school. Ms. Joni Garrett and Mr. John Castle are also here, two of our most effective and beloved teachers. Thank you for being here, both of you. They'll be sharing about how this program they participated in the program and how it's impacted their instruction. And most importantly, how it's had an impact on their students' ability to be successful. But just to reiterate that this work has really been so instrumental in our ability to continue the high quality work that we do through distance learning. And it will also carry us beyond as well as we return to the buildings and look forward towards the fall. So Ms. Lagola, can you tell us a bit about this professional development coaching program?
Yes, can everybody hear me? Now I'm a little sound nervous.
Yes, we hear you.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. And like Ms. Decathlon said, I am one of the I4 coaches. Earlier in the year, you did meet my partner, Nancy Minicozy. She came and shared before you about the teacher-coach partnership culture that we're building at the high school. And I'm here tonight to share about the challenge-based coaching model, which is another way that we're cultivating this partnership. So this year, in collaboration with the high school administration team, we implemented the challenge-based coaching model to better meet the needs of the staff. It offers a measurable one-to-one support. It's a research-based 5-step model that supports what we already do in the school. It supports our school-wide professional development opportunities that we lead, the on-call support that we provide when needed to teachers, and all the supplemental tutorials and trainings that we offer to support district resources and goals. This model enables us as a school community to transform instruction by supporting teachers' skill sets and mindset growth. The model helps all teachers increase their impactful use of technology. It directly impacts student achievement and learning outcomes by helping students develop the skills they need to be successful in school and beyond. These skills are an integral part of the ISD standards for students and are designed to empower student voice, bolster their resourcefulness, and prepare them to thrive in the changing technological landscape. It's not about technology or a technology tool. It's about how that tool can combine with the pedagogy to address instructional challenges and to help us meet our needs and goals as a school, as a district, and as a community. The 5-step challenge-based model begins with identifying an instructional goal or challenge. That's the first step in the 5-step model. Coaches and teachers work together. We collaborate to identify what challenge or goal the teacher will work on. Once it's identified, the coach then investigates innovative technology-based strategies. Then together, they select, we're on step 3, they select the strategy that they're going to implement with their students, step 4. And the last step of this cycle is to reflect on the process. So together, we work through identifying a challenge, we find strategies that we select, and then we implement them in the classroom. During the cycle, the teacher and the coach meet once a week to reflect on the strategy and to revise as needed. Sometimes we try a different strategy. Coaches also visit the teacher's classroom once a week or as needed to offer additional support and objectivity of the effectiveness on the coach of the chosen strategy. And because this experience is personalized for each teacher, no one coaching cycle is the same as another. Coaches meet the teachers where they are and push them just enough to flex the walls of their comfort zone. And through the collaborative process, teachers and coaches develop trust, which leads us to a willingness to take risks. The majority of the cycle is spent implementing the strategy and reflecting and revising the strategy or choosing a new strategy. And at the end of the coaching cycle, the coach and the teacher reflect on the process and determine if the challenge was met. We implemented the first cycle in November, November 17th, and it ended around the end of February. It was an 8-week cycle, subtracting all the holidays that are in that span of time. In the first cycle, we had 5 teachers who volunteered to participate. Now I'm going to be sharing about the outcomes of that first cycle, but I just want to point out that we are in the process of, we're in the middle of our second cycle, and now we have 7 teachers that are currently participating. So back to the first cycle. Some of the challenges that we addressed in the cycle were student agency, student engagement and achievement, timely feedback, and technology fluency. And these challenges would be challenges if we were in person or if we are in a virtual classroom. These challenges span any learning environment that we would be teaching in. So at the beginning and the end of every cycle, teachers are surveyed to determine the impact of technology use in the classroom and how it affects student learning. And they're also asked to reflect on the effectiveness of the coaching cycle. So I'm going to share the data that we collected. And this is just a snippet of some of the data we collected that focuses on the partnership that's made between the teacher and the coach. And you'll see with collaboration that the majority felt that the coaching partnership was very valuable and that their challenge was met. And then when determining student impactful technology use, we also saw an increase in how students are using technology. We see an increase when they're using technology to collaborate. It went from some extent and moved to a large extent. And using technology to develop agency, again, we see the increase from a small extent to some extent and even to a large extent. So overall, we can see these incremental shifts in our students as we build the technology. And this one I really like the most. It's thinking critically about what they're learning. And again, we go from seeing not at all, small extent to a large extent. And this is really nice. So the overall data that we collected supports our goals of an increase of impactful technology use by our teachers, by our students. So my next slide was going to share some teacher comments that they gave us at the end of the cycle. But like Ms. Decker-Trell said, we have 2 teachers here that will speak on it. So I will ask Joni Garrett, Ms. Garrett, if she will mute herself and share.
Can you hear me? Your PowerPoint is blocking my notes, but I will wing it. Okay. All right. First and foremost, the only reason that I'm here tonight is really to pay homage to Karen Lagola and Nancy Minicozy, because they've not only enlightened my teaching practice, but I don't know how I would have gotten through this past year. The only thing that could have made this past year more stressful is if I was a first-year teacher, but I'm telling you, it was tough. You know, the way I see this past year, it was divided into 3 parts. And, oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, but now I lost it anyway, but see, that's okay. Anyway, part 1 was the technical. That was last year, March to June. And, you know, I was just, you know, there was so much to do. And I don't think that people really realize how much had to be done. I mean, I had never given a digital test before. We had to learn a program to give digital tests. We had to learn programs to sign documents. We had to learn how to provide an alternate setting for an IEP student. And, you know, a mistake on those sorts of things could lead to legal liabilities. So I'm just trying to point out that there were so many technical aspects, particularly in that first phase, that were so instrumental and so vital to just being able to teach through Zoom or Google Meet. And all of that came from Nancy and Karen. I mean, there is a whole array of programs that we had to learn. And they also, I don't think that Karen mentioned this, but they also have a compendium. I mean, we have a resource where we could go and literally find directions on how to do just about everything. Okay, I could go on and on about all. I mean, I personally have become proficient in 5 programs, including Google Classroom, and I did not know them at all. But anyway, aside from the first page, which I call the technical, where we really had to learn just how to be online, then we began the school year, and I thought we'd be back at school. We weren't, but then it became a lot more academic. Then we started to learn, or maybe they offered those before and I was just doing the technical, but this year has been about a lot of really substantive programs that we use online, critical thinking programs to really challenge the kids. And those were the programs that I said I'd become proficient on. And again, I could not have done it without Nancy and Karen, because first of all, my computer skills are not like Anne Fine's. She's very, very skilled. I'm, kind of at the bottom. And, I knew Microsoft Works and I thought that was technologically hip, but I didn't know how to do anything. And I'd like to close by telling you how their training is different than any other training that we've had in the past, because I have learned more in the past year with Nancy and Karen than I have in my 28 years with technology training. The kids have gotten fantastic training, but not the teachers. But let me tell you how it's different. Now and then we would have a PD and we would have a technology meeting, and there would always be someone in the room, usually me, that would get lost or they couldn't keep up. And then you just kind of miss the rest of the lesson. And, it's what Karen was saying. We have these individualized instruction, which cater to our needs and allow us to design things that we're going to use the next day in the class. It's really, really valuable. And again, I just, and they have the pedagogy and the methodology, the academic pedagogy, to really, really benefit us. So in closing, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Nancy. And I also want to give a shout out to Josh Sankman. He also helps because, he's fantastic. And, I need him a lot too. And I call on Nancy and Karen a lot. They are additions to my classroom. So if I have a problem, I contact them, and I have contacted them. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know we have to wrap it up, but Mr. Castle, real quick.
Seconds. Can everybody hear me? Thank you for your time this evening. I'm your board member, Dr. Bragi. To piggyback off of Joni, I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to technology. I know technology problem solve any of my issues. One of the things that was great working with Karen and the staff was that I have one-on-one. I was helping students one-on-one with their technology issues, and it was taking me hours help them outside of our regular classroom time so they could access their assessments and get their homework turned in and just Zoom fatigue. So the work that Karen did with me was more focusing on how to help students help themselves. And I had to break the bad habit of answering emails at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. So that is it. But it was instrumental. Without her support, that would not have happened. And I could have just seen myself working until God knows what time at night and, being tired. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you. Thank you for letting us share.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, John and Joni. I think that the thing to point out is that this coaching program is really teacher driven. It has a direct impact on the classroom. It's about impactful use of technology, not just use of technology for the sake of using technology. And so, I'm very grateful that in our district we have the wonderful resource and just the high quality support that we have needed in this challenging time. And just to share with the community that it really has made a difference and allowed us to continue doing the great work that we do. So thank you for having us and to hear about what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Three very exciting things that happen in our high school. Academic achievement, use of computers and the iCoaches and the job that they do, and then the wonderful job with the Allie Norman section. So I'm just amazed at everything that they do, and I just hope we can keep it going and continue to hear what wonderful things we do at our schools. And I'll turn it over to anybody else on the board that would like to make a comment.
Should we go around?
Yeah.
What order?
You're first this time.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to judge some of these Academic competitions last year, and I can tell you the amount of work these kids do is absolutely phenomenal. Like, you can't even begin to imagine it. They actually do start studying as soon as school is over in the summertime, and they spend their entire summer becoming familiar with whatever the theme is in all different disciplines. It is such a heavy lift, and I don't say that to be intimidating to any students. I think it is such an amazing opportunity, and it gives kids such a great opportunity for growth that I hope we have the most massive influx of recruits for the team for next year, Miss Fine, because you guys have really done such an amazing job. I want to say congratulations to all the students. I know a lot of people don't recognize all the work that goes into Academic. Hopefully I've been able to highlight a little bit of that in this moment, but what you guys have accomplished is just tremendous. And I just want to recognize all of the effort and work that you guys put in to get there. Phenomenal. Also to Allie Norman Franks, the video made me cry the first time I watched it, made me cry again this time. It's hard, and especially in this environment where we're all feeling so distant, to have that sense of being connected and all feeling like there's a shared struggle and a shared cause. And it was so beautifully captured in that video. It really was incredibly moving. Thank you for all the work that you do all the time. You've been running these programs for a long, long time, and you keep leveling up. You keep raising the game. So I appreciate your work. And for the I4 coaches and Karen Lagola, we would never have been able to get through this pandemic without you guys. I mean, the opportunity for learning for our students and our teachers was the silver lining of COVID, learning in different platforms. I'm not just talking about the education piece, because we know that that's been a little challenging. But the stakes were raised so high, and our teachers met the moment, and they were able to do that because of the support that you gave them. So I'm incredibly appreciative, and thank you for coming in and sharing with us the process. I can't imagine how long it took to develop. And Miss Garrett, I agree with Miss Fine. Don't sell yourself short. You're quite skilled. We absolutely love you, and that was a great recap of how far you feel you've come this year. Just very appreciative.
Thank you. Dr. Stern.
Yes, I remain so impressed with so many things that I saw today, and each for different reasons. I think the three things that we looked at today really showcase the many amazing facets of this district. Allie Norman Franks and the Norman Aid Wellness, I think, is just so integral to what we need right now. I would love to ask more. I'm very curious about how the offerings have shifted since we have more or less come back on campus a little bit, and I'm sure that you are navigating that beautifully. And then the I4 coaches, I think, have done an incredible job, and really were probably likely the glue that helped us as educators transition into a very difficult time. The learning curve for all of you, managing different formats of presenting instruction and dealing with children at the same time, because we're not just talking about, adult learners, which is very different, but we have children and their behaviors, and navigating that is just absolutely amazing. And last but certainly not least, the Academic folks, incredibly impressive, and congratulations to all of you for the medals. I love the idea as well that it was mentioned that there are 3 tiers of GPA scholars, and so essentially you have different types of students, and some who are perfectionistic perhaps, or others who care about one area but are a little more relaxed on another area. But I think it's a wonderful idea to have all of you together and to be a learning community and contribute in different ways. So thank you very much, and I'm very proud to say that I am part of this district based on a lot of things and what I saw tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Margot.
Thank you. Kudos to all of you. And I don't want to repeat anything my colleagues said. They said it so well, but I will say the compassion in all of your fields is so evident, and it exactly is what makes a district and a school great. In this case, we're at the high school. It is something I wish that more and more people could see and pay attention to these little things, because it's these little things that take us to the next tier, or take us to the next level as an institution. And you are all representative of that passion in your art, in your craft, which we are so sorely in need of, in some places in our district and in our state and country as well. So congratulations to all of you. Please keep up the wonderful work.
Mrs. Wells.
Well, I'd just like to say that I am so impressed by not only the breadth of these programs, but the depth as well, and how all of you have been able to achieve so much, especially during this time of COVID and remote learning. It's so impressive. And each of those programs really, to achieve that much success, and the complexity of all of the programs are really wonderful. And I especially would like to thank you, Allie, because I think your program, especially during this time, is just so important, and it's really wonderful. And the other thing about all of these programs is I think it's so wonderful to see the advancement towards the goals for the strategic plan during these really challenging times, to see such positive growth. So I think all of you should be so proud of yourselves and the programs that you've participated in, and those of you who have put them together. So thank you.
I just want to leave out my friend Yoni, our board student rep here. Yanni, what would you like to say? I know you have some thoughts as the student. I'm sure you have some
develops you. I can't believe, Agi, you became fluent in English just in 8th grade, and the way you speak, it's just wow. I wish I took academic decathlon myself. And then for the I-4, that's just amazing, because I know how much trouble people can have with technology, and it's just so great to see how advanced people are becoming. And Allie Norman Franks, thank you so much. Your program just uplifts so many people, and it's a source for so many people to go to, and without it, kids would just be alone. So thank you.
Thank you, Yoni. Okay, Dr. Briggy, do you want to make a statement? Are you going to go on? Okay. Thank you. Now we'll move on. We have a couple of staff presentations. We have Moss Levy with audit reports, and they follow it up with a bond performance. And I guess they'll be visiting us virtually.
So, Madam President, members of the board, we have a couple of audit firms here tonight, Moss Levy and Moss Adams.
We'll start with the financial audits. We have Mr. Hadley here with Moss Levy, and since we have so many audits to go through, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Hadley.
To present the June 30th, 2020 audit. Just want to let you know, this is because the pandemic this year, this day is postponed the due date on the report, and so that's why we issue it in March this year. But first of all, I would like to thank you, all the district staff, especially the business service department, that accommodate us, and because of the pandemic, we are still able to come in and perform our audit. We did go to the school sites, and also the district office. So I think it's same as the past. A lot of other audit we did it remotely this year, but we were able to come in and do our audit this time like in the past. So thanks for accommodate us, this time. So same as in the previous year, we issue our financial audit. This year is a unmodified opinion, and which means this is a present accordance to GAAP, and we believe the number that we present is not materially mistake, and the notes is the statement and is present accordance to general accepted accounting principle. And same as we also issue a couple more report that render our opinions on is the single audit, the federal compliance report. We test the special education program this year, and we also issue a modified opinion on the federal expenditure. And the other report is the state compliance report. We test various different state compliance program, and we note no finding, and we also issue a modified opinion. And prior year, there were 3 findings, and then I think a couple of those has been corrected, and then there's one finding left. And we don't have any disagreement with management, and no audit adjustment need to be made this year. As far as the other 2 measure audit, the measure E and measure BH, we also issue a modified opinion on both audit report, and there's were just one finding on each report related to the bill payment timely, and the prior audit finding was clear. So yeah, that's it. And is there any question?
I'll start first with Kristen.
Hi, Adley. Thank you so much. First of all, that was a lot of pages. That was a lot of pages of reports. There are a couple things that I want to ask for. I kind of tried to pick just a few things out because I don't want to belabor it too much. But there was at one point in the report in the, let's see, I think it was the final one for both bond measures. There was a finding that I wanted to know if the findings were a result of changed best practices, and for the example that I pulled was the 30 days pay request for invoice versus the 45-day allowance in the manual. Did that change since the manual was approved? Because, I mean, the 2 invoices I think that you had pulled, one was paid in 30 days, one was paid in maybe 34, something like that. But in the manual, it said 45 days to pay. So I know that we can make modifications, obviously, as we go along when things come up, but I was just wondering, for that observation, for that finding, did something change in the law that requires 30 days over 45?
Are you talking about the measure audit?
Yeah, the final of both. Hold on, let me put it up.
Let me make sure.
The construction bond performance audit.
Oh, I'm the one that doing the financial audit.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't. You know what? I wrote all my comments and I didn't put which one for which audit. Okay. So there was a suggestion for additional training. Is that training for our district staff?
I believe so. I think that one probably is referring to Steve, that from another presenter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't categorize all our presenters. All right. I'm not going to waste your time. I have a whole bunch of questions, but I'm going to save them for the next one.
Okay.
Mrs. Schuman, you finished? Okay.
Mrs. Dr. Stern.
Okay, so I thank you very much for all this hard work. Difficult for a lot of us who aren't totally familiar with such complexity, but it was very helpful. And I'm referring now to the financial audit, that is just the basic one for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. One of the recommendations was to make sure there was a segregation from the payroll technician and the ability to not change pay rates if you recall. So how do you propose, or what would be the recommendation to remedy that situation so that is it more that there's a separation from the payroll technician with HR, or how was that reconciled?
I believe that one is the finding in previous fiscal year, and I think it's been corrected.
Right, I believe it has. I just wanted to hear more about how that recommendation is.
It's more on like the payroll technician. It's like the HR, the one that's setting the rate, and then the payroll technician is the one that processing the payroll.
Right, that makes sense. And I think that is a wise recommendation. Okay, thank you.
Right. Sure.
Mr. Margot.
Thank you. Hi, Hadley. And this, I'm going to direct my question to staff. Out of the recommendations made for the improvement in the timeliness issue of the invoice. Oh boy. Sorry, we have seemed to blacked out.
KBEV is still going though.
Great.
That was staff.
Except, well, I guess, Mr. Roach, I'll address this to you, but I don't know if it's internal within TCDS. No, my question was, there are recommendations made regarding the timeliness issue, which seems to be the issue that continues to pop up year after year. And when one or two disbursements fall through, that's something. But there's more than that, and it's less than it has been, more than it should be, right? So my question is, what are we doing as a district, either within our district office or within TCDS, that organization, to improve this? And are those implementations already in place so that in the 2021 findings, we're not going to see the same issue?
I think before the pandemic, what we were seeing literally were physical pieces of paper that got lost in the mail. They would sit in someone's desk, someone's inbox.
Okay.
And at the onset of the pandemic, we went to some electronic signature software. And we found that that's been so helpful in actually getting people to look at documents, review documents, and get them routed on to the next person. Especially when you work with contractors and subcontractors, you have multiple people that need to sign off on the invoices even before they come to business services. So it's kind of a silver lining in that now that we have some processes in place, we will never go back to the paper routing anymore. We're going to keep everything electronic. So these numbers should continue to go down and down. So I'm very hopeful that this finding will be gone shortly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So under recommendations, they could have also written "have a pandemic" as the solution to our problem. No, that was my question on this particular audit. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Wells? I don't have any questions. Okay, I have only one question, and it's basically to the financial auditors. Can you somehow explain the difference between a material weakness and significant deficiencies? That kind of terminology I'm not familiar with it, and I thought if I could get an explanation, I would appreciate it.
Okay. A significant deficiency is there were material weaknesses. Is like you have internal control that can detect the number. Is like you missing let's say you didn't catch an adjustment need to be made. Your internal control can catch that adjustment need to be made. Then there is a material weaknesses. I mean, significant deficiency. It could be catch, but there could be a chance that not got adjust or not got caught. So material weaknesses is just like more like there will be a chance that you won't call a material misstatement.
Thank you.
Sure.
That answers some of the question that I had. I believe Mrs. Walker-Schuman has another question she'd like to ask.
I unjumbled my notes. I actually had two, but Wade, you just answered the first one that I had asked in Q&A about the electronic signatures and date stamp receipt. So thank you for that. I did want to ask another question, though, about the workers' comp issue. This came up last year. I remember that we talked about it. And I thought that it was resolved. So I was surprised to see it on this one.
So in prior years, we had charged out a higher rate on workers' comp than we needed to. So we actually, over a few years, built up a bank of workers' comp dollars, if you will. So last year, we started to reduce the workers' comp rate to start drawing down that bank, and we'll continue to do that next year. So we didn't reduce the rate enough, but we're going to continue to draw down that bank of dollars and do a better job this year and next year of actually putting the rate that we need to put into the system.
Okay, so this finding, the recommendation that it makes, is this something that you anticipate next year on the audit will no longer be an issue, or do you think it's still going to stick around there for?
No, I think we're going to I'm actually, during the budget development process, I'll propose to the board kind of a workers' comp holiday, if you will, next year to spend down those dollars.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay. I believe now we have another performance bond audit, and that's by Moss Adams.
Thank you.
Everyone can hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Good afternoon or evening, depending if you have small children or not. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to present the 2008 Measure E and 2018 Measure BH construction bond performance audit results for fiscal year 2020. My name is Steve Bacchetti, and I'm pleased to be here. I wish we were there in person in Beverly Hills like we normally are. Hopefully we'll be back on site next year and seeing the team in person. I'm joined here with Tammy Lohr, Engagement Supervisor, and Jordan Wall, Audit Lead. This is our 5th year serving Beverly Hills on this performance audit. And before we get into the report results, I wanted to just send a special thank you to Dr. Bragi, Wade, Angeli, Pam, Shirley, Dawn, and the rest of the project management team in the CBOC for supporting us on this audit. It's very comprehensive, a lot of documents to go through the procedures that we're engaged to do. So a big thank you for the team for all the guidance and support, especially during such a problematic year with the pandemic. Our report covers the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. Our procedures cover both bond program expenditure compliance and the effectiveness and efficiency of internal controls. We conducted this bond performance audit in accordance with GAGIS, and based off our experience, the district has been very receptive to the audit recommendations and has been very proactive. So if you rewind 5 years ago, if you look at those audits, they were a lot longer, a lot more words. And if you fast forward, the report's getting shorter, progress is being made. So great job to the entire team. So the numbers that support that, from the 11 observations from prior year, 4 have been closed. The district has taken steps to address 6 of them, and the district had not taken steps on 1. We identified initial 2 observations for opportunities for improvement, which relate to 2 new objectives from this fiscal year's audit plan. So they weren't there last year. They were it's specifically the master planning and bond program transparency. The district picked up these high value, high impact objectives, and 2 of the observations are new. So before we get into the report results, we've identified several good management practices. 1, the district utilizes the multi-vista construction documentation system to store detailed project photos. So this year we did our job site walkthrough with the team in a digital manner, doing a walkthrough based off the photos, and it was incredible. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to complete those exercises virtually. It was a very cool system you guys have. 2, the district does a reconciliation and reporting through Keystone Solutions, which is a great practice. The CBOC agendas, meeting minutes, and annual reports are posted to the website. And the and Measure BH bond program website was updated on a periodic basis by the district. Now we'll go into the report results. The main, as you guys know, the requirement is that you evaluate the expenditures for compliance with the ballot language. So that's the core requirement, and we do additional expanded performance audit procedures based off our scope. So for the core requirement, we concluded that the bond proceeds were only used for listed projects under Measure E and BH, with the potential exception of the legal fees, which related to the MTA and FTA to construct the Los Angeles subway beneath Beverly Hills High School. This is an ongoing observation, and our recommendation is that the district continues to work with legal to ensure that the legal expenditures are itemized and the position is defensible. So now we'll move to the following expanded scope. I'll kind of go over where we reviewed. So we looked at expenditure of payment procedures, salaries of district employees for the bond program, which we had no exception, compliance with state laws, district policy procedures, and other regulations, which we had no exception, district and professional service staffing plan for the bond program, design and construction budget management, bidding and procurement procedures. So I'll pause here. Like I was noting before, there's no exceptions here. And when we finally reached this result for the district, if, like I was saying before, this is one of the big areas that we had many recommendations a few years back. So the fact that we had no exceptions in this area was a huge milestone. And I think both our audit team and the project management and the district management were very excited. We had a virtual kind of celebration that there was no exceptions in this area. So great job on this. We also looked at procurement fraud prevention, detection controls, master planning, and bond program transparency. So I'll summarize 3 observation recommendations into, or all the observation to 3 observation recommendation groupings, just to keep the presentation within a reasonable amount of time. We can dig into any further details or questions afterwards. So first, under expenditure management and controls, the district did not include sufficient documentation within the monthly payment application to support contractor charges complied with the open book accounting requirements specified in the contract documents for Beverly Hills and El Rodeo. However, based off inquiry, this information is available. So I'll kind of break that down into just plain English. Certain contracts that you guys have are guaranteed maximum price contract with a right to the audit clause. So when you review those expenditures for compliance, you confirm that they're project specific, they're compliant with the terms, and any gray areas are pointed out and addressed accordingly. So this is just that the payment application was approved by the appropriate personnel, just didn't have that hundreds of pages of backup to support it within the documentation provided. Next, the program management documentation to evidence a detailed review of bond program staffing needs was not available upon request. Based on inquiry, the district and TCDS conducted a review of the bonds program staffing needs. However, this documentation of a review was not included within the purchase order submittal for board approval to ensure alignment with contract terms and appropriateness. So our recommendation here is pretty self-explanatory, that on future submissions, it includes the staffing plan on an itemized level, including personnel names, titles, contractual rates, annual budget by listed projects with the proper approvals and submitted within the PO package. And then next, I'll group the budgetary management controls, master planning, and bond transparency into one grouping. So for these objectives, we evaluated performance against the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA, and the San Diego Taxpayers Association. So for each of these areas, we noted areas where the district could improve, whether it be consolidation of master planning with Measure B or Measure E and BH considerations, change order schedule and cash flow reporting and performance against these approved master plan budgets, And then 3, for the bond transparency, ensuring the CBOC vacancies are listed on the website and all recommended content is organized on one page. And as just high marks, the district, based off the San Diego Taxpayers Association, had already 14 of the 16 recommended bond transparency evaluation scorecards. So there's only 2 gaps out of 16. So that's a good result for first year audit objective based off our experience with other school districts in this area. So overall, another really strong year of progress and results from the Beverly Hills team. Beverly Hills management and project management have reviewed the report results, observations, and recommendations, and they provided plan resolution dates for all. They agree with them, and most of them are going to be on track to be completed next year. So that's great and not surprising given how proactive the team is. And as noted earlier, we highly recommend a construction audit or a independent assessment be performed on the guaranteed maximum price contracts. I think this is good for the district and the project management to ensure that if there are these types of gray areas that are identified, that early detection can help control budget and manage costs. What I always tell people is it's a lot easier to negotiate $50 over $5,000 or $50,000. So if you identify these potential gray areas within the contract now, facilitate productive conversations with the project management team and get a resolution in motion just so that these small issues don't become bigger. So overall, keep up the great work, and we look forward to kicking off the 2021 audit in just a short few months. And with that, I'll open up to questions or concerns.
Okay, Mrs. Walker-Schuman, you're up first.
Thank you. So I'll start with the question that I asked of the wrong individual. Some of these findings show that there was an expected payment within 30 days, but in the manual it requires 45 days. So was there a code or something like that had changed, or did we just have a manual that reflected a difference than the expectation? And I'm trying to go back to find the...
So the professional service agreements need the requirements, the 45 days. For construction related invoices, the California Prompt Payment Act requires the 30-day payment. And the two, what I wanted to note is the payment durations were very close to the 30-day Prompt Payment Act requirement. If you rewind a couple years ago, it was like the flip. There was like 2 invoices that were, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm generalizing here, but there was like 2 payments that were made on time and the rest of them weren't. So if you look at the trend line, these are outstanding results. When you look at other districts, you guys are top tier in this area, especially during a pandemic type environment. And I think where the benefits of this objective in the analysis is, 1, making sure that you're paying people promptly to comply with the Prompt Payment Act, but 2, making sure that your contractors and subs are getting paid timely to keep operations going. So where we see this becomes an issue is that people aren't getting paid and it impacts the trades, and they start maybe if trades are not getting paid, they may not be funding the payroll. So this could lead to maybe project disruptions. So I think if you look in terms of quantity, the district has made significant strides. And if you look at the differential of days, the numbers are pretty small and isolated. So I think overall, this is really good results based off our experience.
Fantastic. So what I hear you saying is that we're a high performance, highly organized, well-directed, highly competent program. Is that right?
You guys are getting good. These audits used to be more exciting. So we used to have that were left unchecked, and we're starting to check all the boxes when we get the documentation.
Oh my God, I'm really happy to hear that, and I'm really proud of the work. This is a heavy lift. I don't think a lot of people realize two things. Number one, how much work actually goes into the audit itself. So thank you, Wade, and your whole department, and our partners at both of the Mosses. But I think that the improvements have been really monumental, at least in the time that I've seen, really since 2017 until now. I want to draw attention, because I know you kind of reviewed it, but Objective 9, the way that we do business is the bidding and procurement piece, right? That's really kind of the nuts and bolts of how we do it. To have no exceptions in this category is just a huge testament to the amount of work and optimization that has happened in this district, because that was an area where there was a really critical need to improve several years ago. I do want to ask a question about the subcontractor lien release documentation. I think this is what you were saying. It currently exists, that it's by request, but the suggestion was to make it compulsory, if I read the observation right.
Yeah, so two pieces for the payment applications to formalize that independent objective assessment of the contractor cost to confirm compliance with the contract terms. And then two for lien releases, which basically just evidences that the subs are getting paid, to have your finger on that pulse, ensuring that contractors are paying their subs. We've just, especially in kind of pandemic types scenarios, we do a lot of construction audits, and we've seen instances, not saying it's happening here, but this is the risk, that the contractors having cash flow issues, they're not paying their subs, you aren't getting the lien releases. So that can cause project disruption, which is not good for the district. So by getting the conditionals and unconditionals at the sub level, the subs are getting paid. And that's what the unconditional does. It confirms that the subcontractor got paid. And there's an exception line on that lien waiver that says if they haven't got paid. So if you have that information, it's great for a couple things, but primarily to ensure that the job site is running smoothly, vendors are getting paid on time, and that there's no exceptions. If there's exceptions, that could be an indicator of cash flow issues, or maybe performance issues that need to get identified early and proactively addressed.
Okay, so that sounds fantastic and super relevant, but you also had said that was hundreds of pages of backup. So I guess my question is, I would assume that comes with increased cost that ends up being on the district and out of taxpayer funds for the staff time to pull all of that documentation and get it together every month?
So two parts. So for the lien releases, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would guess it's about 20 to 25 extra pages of documentation per month. And that's the lien waiver, where it's evidence of payment to the subs. And you guys can come up with a tailored strategy. Maybe it's you pick the main guys, like the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, or whatever you guys think is the right risk management strategy to confirm the big vendors are getting paid. For the cost compliance review, that's the big piece where you're looking at time cards, potentially pay stubs, which is a lot of documentation. So that would be not necessarily something. We do have vendors or clients that they get that information on a monthly basis and get it reviewed to confirm compliance. Other districts that need, whether it's a policy requirement or they want that extra layer of review, they maybe do an initial audit or midpoint audit or a closeout audit. I think if you were to do an initial audit is, I find, the most value add. The numbers are not as big on the initial audit versus the closeout, but that's the beauty in the report, is that if there are issues, they're identified early, and you put in a management plan to address accordingly, whether it's a billing control implementation or a contract administration control. So here we're just saying that you guys have two really large contracts with right to audit clauses, and to formalize that construction audit or review plan and then execute it accordingly.
Sorry, and just one last thing. Could you just describe?
Because I think that there could be some confusion in terms of what that means to the public, that's actually a good thing.
So the no exception means when we review this particular objective and we have our sample selection and we have all the criteria that we're evaluating against, all the boxes are checked. So everything we're looking at, there's no boxes unchecked. So there's nothing for us to write on a report besides that there was no exception taken based off our sample and procedures performed. So great job. So no exception equals great job.
Dr. Stern?
Excellent work. I have no questions at this point. I'm just listening and observing your report. Thank you.
Mr. Margot?
Thank you. Steve, you had mentioned something about some independent audit of the GMP contracts. Is that something that's not getting done under Hadley's department?
I don't want to speak on behalf of them, but I do not think so. So I think the level of this detail, I think they're looking at the invoice. In if he was here, I'd have him respond, but maybe Wade can fill in. But based off our experience, the construction audits are very comprehensive, very detailed. There's a lot of backup that's needed to support the invoice documentation. But maybe I'll defer to Wade to confirm that that's not taking place.
So yes, Trustee Margot, the audit that Hadley does is much like the audit he does for the general fund and the other funds, with the exception that the construction audit that Steve is referring to is much more in depth, probably 3 times deeper than a regular audit. So we don't employ Hadley to do that kind of work. We would most likely, if it was something the board would want to do, we would actually do an RFP for a firm that specializes in that kind of construction audit work.
That's where I was getting, so thank you for clarifying that. No, after being here close to a decade, it's nice to see things really are improving. It's a slow juggernaut of improvement, but I'm very encouraged by both audits today, so thank you for your presentation and your positive support.
I'm really happy to hear such a positive report as well. I have a couple questions, if maybe you could just expand on it a little bit more. One is it's observation 9C. Actually, I'm sorry, how did I get to, I'm on the wrong one. Observation 11, if you could talk a little bit more about the master planning.
Yes. So the master plan objective, what we're highlighting here is that you guys do have policy procedures of what goes into the master planning. The master planning documentation we saw was not consolidated with both E and BH considerations. So to follow the protocols of the policies and procedures to get that consolidated master plan, budget, and scope baseline. And what you can do with that is that becomes the performance metric that you can assess results. So we think that following the kind of the guidelines and protocols that you guys already have in place within your policy procedures, go through the proper approval process with Beverly Hills Management and board for review of appropriateness will be very beneficial for transparency, accountability, and then assessing performance.
Oops, sorry. Can you also talk about the observation regarding the procurement?
Regarding the what was that again?
Procurement. It's item. I think it's a 9. It might be 9B, 9C. The bidding and procurement procedures, and as well the controls.
So
which
for
is also
9C,
10.
we had no exception for 9C.
Confusing. It's number 10.
10.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. procurement fraud prevention and detection controls. So just the defined reporting. So this is one of the objectives we look at based off our contract. So we like seeing here are defined reporting protocols, training, and escalation procedures if there are any indication of procurement fraud. So the district does maintain a consolidated bid and procurement activity report during the fiscal year, which was the step that they took, which wasn't available previously. However, the review or the documentation to support review of that consolidated schedule, I think would be a great addition to achieve this objective's intent, which is if you have all this data, like you guys get all the procurement information on a case-by-case basis, you guys approve it. But if you guys have that consolidated reporting schedules, you can identify, or management can identify potential anomalies or things that may not look compliant from that consolidated overview. So our recommendation here is that the district continues developing this and reporting on the consolidated bid and procurement activity, the review of it by appropriate stakeholders are there, and then that the training, escalation, and protocols are identified within the policies and procedures.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple, most of the questions that I was going to ask have been pretty well answered. This one statement, I'm not sure what you mean by this. It says, if this is observation number 12, the bond program transparency, I believe. And it says, based on the San Diego Taxpayers Education Foundation, the bond program transparency could be improved by including a number of CBOC vacancies and organizing the information in one consolidated page on the CBOC website to support easy navigation and transparency. What are you referring to when you say vacancies? Openings on the actual CBOC, or are you talking about something else?
Openings.
Big part, I did hear you.
Openings, correct.
Opening.
Oh, actually, openings of seats on the committee?
Yep, just making sure you got a full committee.
Oh, okay. And the other one was the question about the suggestion of the master plan. I think that Mrs. Wells pretty well covered that one. And I would like to just say that this is a very comprehensive report. I noticed that so many of the items from last year are completely under control or going to be under control. When I first picked up the report and noticed some of the suggestions at the end, I got sort of alarmed that there were several. But as I read through it and took more time with it, I realized that it is a very comprehensive, and I guess that the staff is to be congratulated on doing a great job, everybody that's involved with it. And hopefully next year's will be even better than this one, and that we will have addressed all of these things and maybe things will have improved. So I think that's, unless there's any further comments from anybody on the board? No, thank you. Okay, we now have the agenda hearing.
Look forward to seeing everyone soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, the agenda hearing period, I believe we have 3 people who wish to speak. Mira Leeds, will you mute yourself and perhaps read your statement?
Thank you, Mrs. Marcus. Hello, Dr. Breggy, School Board President, Mrs. Marcus, and members of the board. My name is Mira Leeds, and I'm a parent at Hawthorne Elementary School. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you my feelings on the importance of keeping the 9 teachers who recently received reduction in force notifications. Although I would like to say I understand the business side of taking this action, I cannot support this decision as I feel the personal side of this is more important this year than ever before. This group of 9 people are just a few of the amazing teachers that virtually held the hands of our children during one of the most difficult times they will ever experience in their lives. They worked hard to provide structure, support, and guidance, while also trying their best to impart knowledge that could advance the level of education of our children. The amount of gratitude they are owed is beyond words, and the insult of receiving a RIF now, after all they have done, is devastating. Next year, our children will need more attention, comfort, and support than in years past. Ideally, we would still have all of these teachers available to help allow for smaller class sizes and a more personal touch. That is what our children will need to help get them up to speed where they may have fallen behind and get things back to normal as much as possible after a very difficult year. I can speak from personal experience about 3 incredible teachers from this group who my children were lucky enough to call their own for a year. Stephanie Erdley, Joel Wheeler, and Camille Mosby. Stephanie Erdley was my son's first grade teacher. She challenged him, encouraged him, and set the stage for his entire elementary school experience. She helped him develop a passion and love for learning, which was such a gift for him to receive at the start of his academic career. Joel Wheeler was my daughter's 4th grade teacher, and he was nothing short of fantastic. My daughter has continued to stay connected to him by joining his after-school book club when she was in 5th grade, and then volunteering to help tutor his 2nd grade Learning Lab students this year while she's been in 6th grade. He obviously has had a profound impact on her and her education, and I will be forever grateful to him for all he has done for her. Camille Mosby worked with my daughter in a spelling group when she was in 4th grade, and she currently has my son as a student in her 3rd grade class, as well as her after-school book club. She is very special to our family, being that she has had both of my children as students. She is the reason my son felt safe to return to school this year. He truly enjoys her class and loves working with her. When I asked him what he loves most about her, he said, everything. I have also been fortunate enough to be a room parent for all 3 of these amazing teachers, assisting them in various ways during the school year. They are all truly dedicated to providing the very best they have to give to every single child. These are not the teachers that you let go. They deserve to know how very much we want and appreciate them, not that we are willing to risk losing them. They deserve better.
I'm sorry, there's a 3-minute limit.
Unfortunately, if you're not almost finished, I have to cut you off.
I am almost finished, if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All 9 of these teachers that received RIFs have done something truly exceptional this year. They have continued to help our children grow despite extremely challenging circumstances. What they have accomplished has been incredible. In my opinion, letting them go would be a mistake, and the profound loss to our district and the future students of BHUSD would be felt for years to come. I ask that you please reevaluate this decision and bring these teachers back. Give them the feeling of safety and security that everyone has been searching for this year. I truly hope you will consider my opinion, and I thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joanna Smith.
Thank you, Mrs. Marcus. Excuse me. Good evening. My name is Joanna Smith, and I've taught at Hawthorne School for the past 26 years. I'm also a BHEA site representative. I would like to speak about our reduction in force, or RIF teachers. At the last Board of Education meeting, BHEA President Elena Castanon and site rep Marissa Terranova spoke about how these affected teachers have worked very hard for BHUSD, especially during the pandemic. I agree that all are excellent teachers and that Beverly Hills is fortunate to have each and every one of them. Today, I would like to state why BHUSD should rescind every pink slip and keep all of these teachers. Mr. Roach said at a previous board meeting that Beverly Hills Unified School District is approaching $28 million in reserves. Why are we saving all this money when it can be better used to benefit our students now? All our experienced RIF teachers have TK5 credentials. Instead of maxing out the number of students in elementary classes, create more classes with fewer students. Allow teachers to have additional one-on-one time with each child and battle the perceived perception of post-pandemic learning loss. In addition, our district will need smaller classes to open up with 3 feet distance in the fall. Prove to the community that BHUSD is doing everything it can to make our students the priority. We're a small basic aid district with plenty of resources. We can afford to keep these great teachers on in perpetuity. We can afford to invest more in our students. This would not just be education reimagined, but rather education reinforced, reestablished, and redirected to the benefit of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. And Daphne Hollander.
Mrs. Marcus had to leave, so I'll read it for her.
Okay, thank you.
Dear board members, I would like to take a minute to apologize to Mrs. Marcus and Mrs. Wells for the behavior that I saw at the emergency board meeting. It's one thing to disagree, but it's another to disagree in such a disrespectful and harsh manner. Mrs. Marcus has been part of our educational community for years and is now volunteering her time on the board. She should not have been treated the way she was. The smirks from the people that attended the meeting were both disrespectful and demeaning to a person who has dedicated her whole life to the education of our children, in addition to the social and emotional development of their well-being. Daphne Hollander.
Thank you very much. Okay. That wasn't 3 minutes.
No, it kept going.
There's nobody else.
I think we're on to consent calendar.
Okay, so we will now move on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the, first of all, is there anybody who wants to pull anything from the consent calendar? No? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar, please.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, approved by Tristan Walker-Schuman and seconded by Mr. Margot. If no further questions, I will call for the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0, and we will move on. Let's talk to our superintendent. Do you have anything to say tonight?
Yes, I have a short report for tonight, which you'll be very relieved about. We have had a fantastic and sensational opening since we last met with our board meeting at both of our secondary schools, our middle school and high school. We are officially reopened and in a very successful way, and it's great to see everybody. We could not have done this without our amazing partners, our PTA, PTSA, BHEF. It has been a true collaboration, and it's been great to see everybody that's been welcoming our students. We certainly couldn't have done that without them. And especially their welcome back signs and balloons were a really big part of welcoming our students back after being gone for almost a year. So we are well into 2 different areas that are mitigation areas for us. One is our vaccination sites. We were fortunate to receive allocations from LA County, and we have provided our second dose for those that needed it. The most important thing to us is that anybody as a staff member in BHUSD that wanted to get a vaccination was able to get one here. And we also encouraged our staff to get a vaccine appointment any place that they could, and many took advantage of getting them at different places. So I feel very good about, very fortunate about the supply of the vaccine was widely available for educators in our tier. The testing that we were doing is very robust. We have gone above and beyond what is required in the health order to provide testing for our staff. We are actually testing every day of the week at different sites, including the district office for our staff and also for any students that become symptomatic throughout the day, and also with our athletes, our student athletes that are actually back in games and competitions. We are doing that testing twice a week. We've had hundreds and hundreds of students that have gone through testing all negative, and all of our staff the same. So it's been really, it's been very convenient for both students and staff, and for our symptomatic students that are in school and they're not feeling well, and we're able to provide that information within just minutes to our students and parents. Today was a big day with our SAT testing, and we had just about 80 students that took the SAT test at the high school. And I just want to thank our teachers and our administrators who spent all of today, and some of our staff will be back tomorrow to finish off this testing. And again, thank you to PTSA. They had it was a really cute grab-and-go gift bag for our students, and that's not something that you expect when you show up to take a standardized test. And not only did it look good, but there was all kinds of great things in there as well. So that little touch was really welcomed, and students really appreciated it. So each report on Tuesday with our assessment, we are at 3.2 for our adjusted case rate. And I can share with you that we're all looking forward to bringing back our students, coming back to full-time learning. I know that there is there's a lot of talk out there about school districts that are already back full-time. We're hearing from people that are getting some misinformation because Santa Monica Malibu is not back at all right now. Las Virgenes is not back full-time. There are a number of people that are getting some misinformation, and it's because information is changing so quickly. And so we are working with our teachers and our staff, and we're back, and they are excited about welcoming our students back. And with the changes in the CDC and the physical distancing, we are all making those accommodations, and we're moving in the right direction to have all of our students back full-time every day. And the good news is that our governor has declared publicly that that is the expectation even for fall, as we begin to think about what fall is going to look like, even though it's difficult to predict. The expectation is that we will be back full-time every day as well in the fall. Some exciting news on the graduation and promotion phases of our school, especially since we were not able to do this last year. This is going to be really welcome this year. Some things that we do know is that we've been working very hard with LA County to ensure that it will be a physical ceremony. And so it will be a physical ceremony at the high school, at the middle school, and each of our elementary schools for their 5th grade promotion. We have the dates below here. We've sent those out to you. June 8th for our elementary 5th grade promotions, June 9th for BVMS graduation, 8th grade, and then our high school graduation that will be on June 10th. And so what we don't know right now is the actual capacity. And so we are expecting that information from LA County any day now. We do know that that we're in a good spot to be able to have a large group gathering. It's the capacity that we are waiting to hear back from. So we are getting very creative about how we can do a physical ceremony and different versions depending on what the capacity LA County will allow. So we are expecting that information any day now. Another big responsibility we have and some big shoes to fill will be for Mr. Allen, principal at Beverly Vista Middle School. And so I've sent out information regarding our search process. One of the most important job responsibilities that I have is to hire excellent administrators. And so we take this very seriously. We have a very comprehensive search. And so we've already posted that vacancy. Dr. Horvath and I will spend some time with staff this Friday, getting some input from staff. That input helps generate the types of questions that we ask. It's very unique. It's a very personalized experience. There's nothing at all about this that is the same for each interview. It's completely different. We take that information and really help formulate the types of questions. And there's a lot of performance-based things that we do as well. We know many candidates can show up to an interview and really be able to articulate what it's like to be an effective leader. What's difficult to do, and we take things a little bit differently, we do some performance assessments. We actually have some assignments, I call them inbox assignments, but candidates will have to be able to do some performance-based tasks to go along with the rest of the traditional type of interview that we do. So we will be involving our staff, our students, and our parents in different rounds, and we're looking forward to doing that within the next couple of weeks. We are really taking an aggressive stance. We are not just waiting. We are just not posting the position and waiting for people to apply. We are aggressively recruiting. And so we are looking to make this opportunity available to sitting principals in the state of California. And so we are taking an aggressive stance to push out information. Instead of waiting for people to come to us, we're pushing out that information because we want people all over the state, especially in a pandemic that may be not as actively looking. We want to make sure that we do our part to make sure that everybody is aware of this incredible opportunity to be principal at Beverly Vista Middle School. So with the timeline, we are looking at, you'll see a lot of tentatives on here because it really depends on finding and casting a wide enough net to where you have excellent candidates to choose from. And so it is very important for people to know that, and I've been known for this in the past, that through an interview process, it isn't about taking the best of what you have. If it's not the right person, the best person, then we will start all over again. And we will go back out and we will keep the search going. We don't settle. It's an amazing school district, and we're going to find an amazing principal to fill the shoes for Mr. Allen and to keep that pursuit of excellence continuing at Beverly Vista Middle School. So if all things go well and we're able to do that with our efforts, and I think that we've got a concerted effort to find that exemplary leader that we're hoping by the middle of May, 12th of May, that we're able to make that announcement. And any questions?
Mrs. Schumann?
I did not ask this in advance, so if you don't know, I apologize for the shock and awe question. But do you know what the actual capacity is at the stadium, at the football field?
I do not, because we actually add bleachers, and so the setup that we're going to do, we're going to have the same setup as last year, because we feel like it may be, if it's by households.
The year before last year.
I was going to ask that question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, well, it'll be a lot bigger. So we need the space. So we are anticipating. We're planning for having the highest capacity, so that because things can change even after you have things ordered and you are ready, and all that has to be done in advance. So I don't know the exact number for the football, but it'll be the same setup that we've had, years past, except for last year.
So if you don't mind getting back to me, I'd love to know what that number is. There's
Just
got to be an established number for what
just
capacity
for the
is
football
out there.
stadium.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Ellis, if you could get on that, please.
Sorry, I should have asked you.
I get a feeling she's in charge of it this year.
I'm not in charge of anything.
Mr. Wanker will know that.
Okay.
We'll get back to you with the negative.
And it'll
Okay.
probably be
All right.
helpful for Yoni in some of the discussions they've had about prom too.
Are you,
Thank you
Mrs.
so much.
Schumann, are you finished?
I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Stern. Any comments or?
Thank you, Dr. Breggy. It sure looks so positive now, and it's wonderful to hear that there will be an in-person graduation. Of course, that in and of itself is a victory. Have you gotten any guidance as to, even though it's outside, is there a requirement in terms of distancing among people? Is there any indication that there has to be a screener or a health screener for every single person who attends? And finally, is there also going to be a simultaneous streaming, which I've seen in other graduations across the country, that they do transmit that for other people who aren't in the presence?
signs that must be turned in. We know that that will have to be done. Again, utilizing some of the equipment that the board allowed us to purchase with thermal scanners are perfect for this type of event, so that you can actually keep the health screenings and also the temperature taking as visitors are coming in. We do know that they're really talking about households now. Now it's about trying to keep some households together. So if people are attending, we don't know the exact number yet. We know that they're going to want a household that's attending an event to sit together. So that's the advisement right now. Again, that's why knowing the capacity is going to be important for all the seating, because it looks like there would have to be 3 feet between then each household. So you could have a group together and then, another household, and it will be, people will be wearing masks. And I mean, that will continue into the summer for sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, your other question about live streaming, we will have live streaming available, which, one thing that's worked out for us really well this year, and this was, thanks to the board's support, is that we were able to do, we really have 3 different programs that are going on right now. Not the ILC, we have live at BHUSD, and we also have in person. And that has been such a benefit to us, especially as we've brought people back, because some people have made decisions that they either want to come or they don't want to come, or they want to do a hybrid. So that's been really good for us for class sizes. This opportunity to give options, is something, that has changed the future, because, we are going to have several families that wouldn't want to miss a graduation for anything, but yet they may elect, because they don't want to go into a large gathering, that they can still watch the ceremony via live stream. So we will absolutely have that available as an option for families.
Any other questions, Mr. Margot? No. Nothing. Mrs. Wells?
No, I don't have any. Thank you.
I just want to thank you again, and I would like to make a comment about the return to school at the middle school, because I happened to go and witness it. And I need to tell you that to see the organization and how smoothly it went was just unbelievable. I really was impressed by, you could just tell how much work had been put into that by everybody that was involved in it. It was amazing, and I just, as I say, I just wish that more students would have come back, so that we could have had them back on that day to feel that excitement and so on of being back in school. Those thermal scanners we have, they're movable, right? So that you can take them, and so they can quickly ascertain people when they come in for graduation.
Absolutely.
And I'm almost thinking you're going to almost have to have like a reserved seating situation for people at the high school for graduation, where you will know how many blocks of seats together and so on, so you can organize that. That's going to be a real big job. So I just wanted to mention that, and because we want to get as many people to come as possible. But again, it might mean we have to limit some of the seats that are available.
It's possible.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to hear from my student board member, Mr. Yoni.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by saying that the students that have gone back to school are really happy to finally be able to see other students and interact with them physically. It's definitely shown that students and parents are really happy that they now have the option of returning to school or not. Unfortunately, there is low attendance, but I have to say that it does make sense. Most students and most people in general will favor the easy and more comfortable way out by staying home. I think we were getting a lot of uproar from parents before school started in a hybrid model, because they just didn't have the option. And plus, most parents want their kids back physically in a learning environment, whereas most students prefer staying home because it's simply easier, especially now that we've gone through about 6 or 7 months in this model. I spoke to some students about returning to school 5 days a week without cohorts, and many of them are really happy about it because they get to see all their friends and they don't run the risk of being separated by cohort. And then I think this will end up increasing our attendance because people will be able to see their friends without being able to be separated. But I do still expect kids to stay home because it does seem easier. In regards to prom, which Mr. Walker Schumann first brought up right now, we're looking into all of our options with a bunch of venues, calling as many places as we can. Unfortunately, many of them don't allow more than 250 people right now. So we're hoping that the number goes up, but we're also looking into the football field as an option, possibly. And other than that, everything's just moving along and everything's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kashanian.
I think Mr. Ellis had a comment.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you.
Thank you, of course.
I am meeting with Nahal on Friday to go over the plan of maybe putting the prom on the football field. So we're going to discuss all those options. Okay, just want to let you guys know that. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Rocket Seed email signature branding management.
Excuse me, President Marcus, you were going to do your Laxa report?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay. So a week ago or so, I attended a Laxa, which they have a monthly meeting, and I decided that it was about time maybe that I went. I was supposed to go last year, but with everything that was going on, I never made it. Well, I wouldn't have made it. It was all virtual, but I did attend the meeting the other night, and what was very interesting, this was a meeting on human trafficking. Well, my eyes were widened pretty high when I heard that this is a $1 billion business, and the area, and in California, this the most exploited areas are Los Angeles County, San Francisco, and San Diego. And it doesn't matter what color, what type of child it is, it just goes all the way from, well, one lady even said she had somebody that she knew was 8 years of age, but the average age of the victims entering in the trafficking are 12 to 14 years old. And it's a form of commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, and coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such act has not attained 18 years of age. There's recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, and providing in persons for labors and services through the use of force, fraud, and coercion. And one of the interesting things is, where will you see these kids that are being used for human trafficking? Well, you find them at such places like malls and sporting events where they sell candy, they hawk flowers and magazines and so on. And also there's a lot of them that you find in agricultural settings. Runaways and unaccompanied minors make up the majority of the at-risk youth for both sexual and labor exploitation. And the panel that was speaking consisted of a law enforcement officer, a lady named Amber Davies, and one other lady. I can't remember right now what I had it written down somewhere and I can't find it. But it was very opening, and I kept thinking about the Beverly Hills children and how fortunate we are. And it really was very sad to hear about these kids that are being trafficked for one of many reasons. And it was really painful to listen to that evening, that night. So I just want to share that with all of you. It was really almost depressing, you could say. Okay. Now moving on to 12A. 12A.
So you go ahead.
I'll move approval of the Rocket Seed email signature branding management.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion on this? Do we have any explanation on what this is accomplishing? What is the purpose? So anybody want to take it has to do, I'm sure, with emails and things like that and branding and so on. You want to make a brief statement about that, please, Ms.
absolutely.
Starkins? Thank you.
So I am super excited about this item because I very rarely get to spend any of Mr. Roach's money. And I often have these great ideas, and then I think about it and I think, what's the educational impact and how is this impacting kids? And no, that's not a good use of money. And so I spend a lot of my time looking at opportunities for the district and also pain points for our community and for our parents, especially when it comes to communications. And in the strategic plan that was board approved last year, there were three main areas that were priorities for the district. One was student success, one was budget and facilities, and one was community relations. And what I thought was really interesting when I looked through not just my tiny little section of the strategic plan, which falls under the action plans, but under the overarching goals and objectives, there are 8 of those. And so many of them dovetail into areas where the board has dedicated resources to over the last year, whether that's our websites or our branding or making sure that our communication with our community and our extended community is really streamlined and efficient and effective. And so I did a little bit of a review with Mr. D'Amico, and we found out that our employees send 5,500 emails every single day. So that's a lot of emails, and that's a lot of touch points that the community and the greater community and colleges and media and parents are having with us. And I was reviewing our email signatures, which is the easiest way. When you get an email, the first thing I do, I think, who is this person? I look at the bottom of their email. Oh, Rebecca Starkins. She's the director of PR. And then I think, well, what does she do? And I look for their website. Oh, it's not there. Well, hold on, that's a problem. And then I look and I think, well, can I call them? If my phone number's not there, that's a problem. And then if I see, oh, that branding is something from like 7 years ago, and didn't all that just get updated? That seems really antiquated. And even dovetailing into what Mrs. Norman Franks was presenting about pronouns and how important it is for us to show how far we have come as a district, I thought we need a one-stop shop solution for upgrading all of our email signatures for all of our employees without each individual person having to put in their own pieces of information, or Mr. Kashanian saying, okay, what logo do I put in my email signature? Whatever it is, what do we want for our employees? Let's just start with our employees and what we're sending out. And so Mr. D'Amico and I looked at different companies, and we reviewed with Karthik, who's an invaluable team member, and we looked at this company called Rocket Seed. And what they provide us the opportunity to do is not only put our social media links and our website and all of the things I've talked about into the email signature, but to also push out when we have something to celebrate or if we have something we want to focus on, that we can just with one click of a button push that out on every single email we're sending. So if all of a sudden they get rid of masks for graduation and we want to make everyone aware of that fact, we could put that in the email signature. If we have something to celebrate because we've just become a distinguished school or achieved an award that we think, you know what, prospective parents who are looking at our school district would love to hear about this, we can put that in the email signature. It can be clickable, it can be interactive, and it will streamline it and take us from a place of what I would say is a little haphazard right now to elevating it to the level where every other department is working on right now in our strategic plan, and also fall in line with my little section, which is about community relations and ensuring that we're integrating it that way. So that's what Rocket Seed provides in a really truncated way of explaining it. And if you've got any questions, please let me know, because I would love to share more about it, but I'm cognizant of time.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman, have you questions or comments?
Nope, I don't. I'm good.
Dr. Stern?
No.
Mr. Margot?
Yeah, just quickly. Wade, I noticed the contract for this is done on their template, and as opposed to ours. How has this been vetted out as far as the consistency and other vendor agreements?
Sure. So The one overarching element that was super important for this contract, if we were going to use their template as opposed to ours, was that that company signed our privacy agreements and all of our data agreements. So Mr. D'Amico and Mr. Roach have both looked at everything and worked with them and made sure that everything is in line. And the things that weren't, then once everything, if you decide, yes, we want to invest in this and we want to approve this, we will sign it, and then they'll sign our agreements.
Thank you. And I did see those attached also. What is the duration? I know there's an initial license fee and then there's an annual fee. What is I'm trying to find on the contract the length of term.
So it's a 24-month contract, and
Okay.
we spoke with them, and we
Thank you.
said, okay, we're looking at it at an annual basis because things for the board are generally approved just for 1 year in education. They also applied a 20% discount because we're in education, which I was like, that's brilliant, Mr. Roach.
Okay.
So I have to point that out.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have no comments.
Okay, and I think that if there's no more comments, I'd like to call for the question. Dr. Stern? Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Mrs. Marcus is a yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now we're going to hear from Mr. D'Amico. Mr. D'Amico, you're up. Oh.
Okay, I'm going to share my Zoom screen with everybody here. Hold on a second.
Do we make the motion to put this up for discussion
Is this going to
first?
require a motion, or is this...
Or is it just an update?
It's an
I thought-
update.
It's an update.
No, I didn't think so. Okay.
You good?
Go.
Okay, and then let me go up here. Okay. Let me just move this so I can see. All right. Good evening, President Marcus, members of the board, Dr. Breggy. I'm here. See, am I turned on?
You're on.
Okay. I'm here this evening to talk to you about, to give you an overview of where we're going with one-to-one. It's a smaller piece of a larger presentation that I'd like to do with you subsequent to this meeting. And but I want to focus in on the one-to-one this evening because in order to meet the timelines for the 2021-22 school year, we need to make sure that the budgets are ready to go so that we can make purchases. So remember when those of you who were on the board prior to this fiscal year, I sat down with the board in a study session about a year and a half ago, and we talked about what the technology department needed to do to support the initiatives that the district has, both academically and in business. And in the strategic plan, we set some goals. We said that between 2020 and 2023, we would implement standards of practice for consistent service. We would build capacity and knowledge to support learning, whether students are at school or at home. We would review and update our current IT job descriptions to reflect the modern operational needs and business requirements of the district. We would implement a framework for a district technology that's aligned with the strategic plan, and that we would implement a systems approach with a focus on fiscal planning and project roadmaps. So all of those bullet points really above the highlighted one encompass everything that the IT department does. We have infrastructure, we have operations, we have information systems, we have communication systems, we have backup systems, we have application support, we have classroom technology, we have large meeting spaces, we have business and facilities technology, IT security, and end user device and support. And so I want to come back on those other bullet points, and I've developed a 5-year technology budgeted and project plan for all of you. But the purpose of tonight is really to focus on the one-to-one replacement project for the student devices, and really to look at it out over the next 5 years. So the objective, of course, is to replace the TK2 iPads in the 21-22 school year. Those devices are at end of life. The first set was purchased in 2016. And in grades 3 through 5, we're at a point where we need to replace all of the laptops that we distributed in that same year. In 2016, actually, the district went 1-to-1 TK through 8. And we spent approximately $3.8 million on those devices. I want to just mention that within that set of expenditures, there were devices and there was some infrastructure too, because it was new to the district. So all the things that going to support those devices were part of that purchase. So these devices, the TK through 2, everything that was purchased in 2016, TK through 2 iPads, laptops for 3 through 5, and laptops in grades 6 through 8 are now at end of life. And we've actually stretched those out to 5 years. Those things have lasted 5 years, which is pretty amazing. In this fiscal year, to replace all those devices, I'm estimating that we're going to spend $1.9 million. So I just want you to know that, that's a pretty big difference from 3.8 to 1.9. Some of that is because we're proposing Chromebooks for grades 3, 4, and 5. Some of that is because we have some declining enrollment going on across the district. Some of that is because we're going to save money on some of the infrastructure that doesn't have an end of life or doesn't have the end of life that the devices have. And some of it is just devices are less. iPads are a couple $100 less a piece than they used to be. The Chromebooks are substantially less than the laptops. Pushing forward and kind of looking out into the future, our high school laptops were replaced in 2 phases. We rolled out devices to 2 grade levels in October of 2019. And then we rolled out devices to the other 2 grade levels in February of 2020. And so that total investment won't really come to end of life in the 23-24 school year. Half of it will. So in 23-24, we'll replace the half that we rolled out in 2019. And in 2024-25, we'll replace the second half that we rolled out in 2020. And because I don't know that the Chromebooks will last 4 years, I'm being conservative and saying that we'll replace those at the end of the 3rd year. We'll be bidding into the 4th year for grades 3 through 5. So the total cost for device refresh in, just going back, the 2021-22 school year will be $1.9 million. We won't have any refresh costs in 22-23 other than maintenance of effort. In 23-24, we'll spend another $585,000 for 2 grade levels at the high school, and in 24-25, we'll spend about $895,000 in the other 2 grades at the high school and grades 3, 4, and 5 for another set of Chromebooks. If we looking at this trajectory, and I'll tell you more about this when I present at the subsequent meeting, my goal with the technology budgets and the bond is to make sure that we have another refresh beyond the second one. So the goal is to get to go through 3 complete refresh cycles on devices for students and still be able to manage all the other projects that the bond has afforded us. So in the larger picture, and this is really high level, but I have the details for you and I will share those. The total district-wide technology dollars in Measure BH is $13.6 million. The total dollars remaining are $12.5 million. The current Measure BH allocation for 1-to-1 for this fiscal year, when I say an allocation, that's what's actually reflected in the budgets, is $2.5 million. The estimated device refresh for the fiscal year 21-22 is $1.9 million. So where is this going? What I'd like to do is bring a resolution to the board on the 27th of April, asking for the spending authority to proceed with purchasing devices for grades TK through 8 for the 21-22 school year. The authorization through a resolution is consistent with past practice in Beverly Hills, and it actually makes it much easier for us to work with the vendors that we have to work with, meet our timelines, and not have to keep bringing, items piecemeal back to you each time we have to go make another purchase. But the expectation would be that the resolution would have language in it that reflects the $1.9 million spent. And that's it. Are there any questions?
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
I thank you so much. I really appreciate you including the financial impact on the bond. As you know, that's something that's really important to me, having worked on the bond, and I knew that there was money allocated there. I would make a suggestion more than anything else. I really hope that you will connect also with Don Blake, because I know that the technology earmark in that bond was not just for hardware, it was also for some infrastructure. And I just want to make sure that we can ensure what we promised of a 5-year and 10-year refresh, even though it kind of goes on a cycle. And I love the plan. It looks fantastic. But I would hope that you talk to Don and just make sure you guys are on the same page, that the whole spend is something you agree on.
And I've been working with Pam Johnson.
Oh, great. Perfect.
So
that's it.
When I come back to you with the more detailed budget, I will give you, project by project where we're going with bond dollars and how I came up with that,
That's
all of those dollars.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And just a comment, how fortunate are we that we decided to move forward with that purchase of devices in February 2020? I mean, just a very short sliver of time before the pandemic went into full swing. So
I'm very grateful that we
we
did.
We are too. Thank you.
Dr. Stern, any comment, question?
This is more of a general question. Will you take advantage of sort of a cloud computing application situation whereby, like, there's district software that you can just push to devices for certain grade levels or certain assessments that maybe certain kids will utilize? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's a great question. One of the things the pandemic has done, it's done 3 things. It's forced us to rethink how we manage devices and deploy them, and how we can give kids what they need without having to touch those devices every time something comes up.
Right,
so,
or have them dragged into your office.
So we're already in the cloud with, I'd say 90% of what we do, including our Active Directory and how we provision devices, how we policy the devices, how we filter the devices, how we monitor what kids are doing online. All of that is already in the cloud. And all of our applications, almost all of our applications, or the applications students use, with some exceptions at the high school, are in the cloud.
Right.
So we're largely the pandemic's done that. The pandemic has also done what you heard this evening earlier, is really put technology. It's actually, for the first time in my career, and I've been doing technology a long time, I feel as though we're actually going to get the bang for the buck for the technology that we have. And we have people like Mrs. Garrett and other teachers and students who are becoming not just consumers using technology devices, but who are really using them as tools for their own purposes and for their learning. And I'm thrilled that, I'm going to get to see this before I sunset. That's awesome. It's awesome. And the third thing is, it's just focused the district. It's focused the district in so many ways. It's really pushed us to make certain things happen that we might have kicked down the road a little bit. So all good stuff. Those are all good outcomes from a bad situation.
Mr. Margot.
Thank you. David, there is no sunset from here, by the way. Look at me.
I am in the land.
I just a couple of things. Grades 6 through 8, is there refresh Chromebooks as well, or it's just an unnamed laptop at this point?
6 through 8 will be laptops.
But you don't know which one at this point?
We do.
Okay.
It'll be very similar to the laptops the high school students have.
Okay. It didn't specify it, so I was just wondering.
Yep.
You know.
It'll be a full Windows device.
My only other question is, are there any COVID funds that were earmarked for technology that we haven't taken advantage of that can be applied to some of the refresh?
The answer to that is yes. So I want to back up and answer that question this way. What I like to do when I think about how to spend technology dollars, and Wade will, I think, nod his head when I say this, is I start with most restrictive money and I work my way out to the most available dollars. And so, for example, I've just finished working with the CTE program at the high school, and we're refreshing all of the labs in the CTE classes with CTE money. So money that would have money that would have been spent from bond dollars, perhaps, rather than using the bond for that. I went to CTE and I said, here's what I want to do. How much can you contribute? And she had the budget to take care of all of it. So we're doing those kinds of things. The COVID dollars, we're going to have a budgeting session on how we're going to spend COVID money with the additional monies that are coming through. We're going to do outdoor wireless for the high school and for the middle school for some specific areas where instruction needs to happen outside, and that'll be half of that will be COVID dollars. So we're
okay. My purpose in asking the question is, as most people know, the bond program took a hit with the oil well remediation, and where we could supplement using bond dollars with other available dollars, I would encourage to look into that as deep as we can. That's my rationale.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Wells.
Thank you. I have a question on, I guess it's page 7. And maybe I misunderstood this. The current Measure BH allocation for 1-to-1, you have at 2.5. Is that coming out of the 12.5?
It is. So the 2.5 million is a line item that was kind of in the beginning of the fiscal year. That amount of money was set aside just for the refresh for the 21-22 school year.
Okay.
Every year when we sit down to develop budgets, I get asked, how much do you think you're going to need for this and this and this? And so 2.5 was what I was estimating back at that time. And so that was the money that was allocated.
And now you have it at 1.9.
About 1.9, yes.
I understand. All right, that's great. Thank you. I look forward to seeing your bigger presentation.
I look forward to giving
Great report, very interesting, and so on. I was curious to know about one thing. In buying these computers, I remember on occasion we have been something about piggybacking with other districts and so on, and getting better prices by being part of another group in purchasing. Have we looked into anything like that, and how much is going to be a saving for us?
It is. That piggyback is built into that budget estimate, so we will piggyback on a government contract. We'll use the same one that LA Unified uses, and that will give us substantial pricing advantage or pricing discount on devices.
Good. Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate the great report. Thank you. Now we were going to go to what will now be called 12C. And 12C is going to talk about the appointment to the Finance Committee. And I believe, Mrs. Walker-Schuman, you have an appointment to make to that Finance Committee?
I do. For the Finance Committee open spot, I will be appointing Frank Chechel, who is a financial services executive and actuary with 20 years of experience, spanning several Fortune 500 organizations. He's a fellow of the Society of Actuaries and has a deep finance, risk management, and insurance background, with decades of analyzing data, developing strategic plans, and leading broad cross-functional teams. He's a committed community volunteer, dedicating time for the last 6 years as a coach, referee, and board member for AYSO Beverly Hills Region 76. He has served on the district's Return to Learn Task Force, working relentlessly last summer with fellow parents and staff to study, evaluate, and recommend best practices for physical reopening. Frank has led multi-million-dollar business negotiations and transformative multi-year projection initiatives. He is married, and his daughter is an 8th grader at Beverly Vista Middle School.
Thank you. My appointment to the Finance Committee will be Mr. Dan Feinberg. Dan Feinberg is very much involved in the business community. He is a vice president at Wells Fargo Bank, has an extensive business background. He's married to a lovely lady by the name of Lori. They have some children in the school district, and it is my pleasure to name Dan Feinberg as a new member of the Finance Committee. Okay. We'll move on to Planning and Facilities now. Ratification. Can I have a motion for
Yes.
13A, please?
I'll make a motion for the ratification of Amendment Number 5 to the agreement for asbestos and lead abatement monitoring services with environmental audit at El Rodeo School.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Who said second? Thank you. Motion was made by Mr. Margot, seconded by Mrs. Tristan Walker-Schuman. Is there any discussion on this? Any questions? Mr. Margot.
Yeah, just a quick question, and I think, there's Mr. Blake popping on. Thank you, sir. What, I assume, is this under hard or soft costs for the program? Soft costs, and are these continual amendments? I know that we find stuff as we dig. I know that also that the South Coast Air Quality, sometimes DTSC, kind of push us in the direction to require more of these. Is our allocation for these, because it's come up a lot for El Rodeo, is our allocation within budget for what this particular contracts and the amendments are?
Overall, for the soft costs, we're within budget. Of course, we could encounter, we're not completely through with the activities in the soil. These are occurring actually now in much smaller spaces. This particular one is a crawl space. We could have made the decision to encapsulate, but we felt that, as we did with the high school, since the areas are open, that it was prudent to completely clear out any of the asbestos or any other particulates so that the site would never need that in the future. We don't expect to tear up the building again anytime soon, but to make sure that the spaces are 100% cleared.
Okay.
These happen during the course of demolition. As you know, as the demolition process has been we call it an Easter egg hunt, as we go into new areas and uncover it.
And by Easter egg, you mean hazardous material?
Yes, hazardous
exactly.
material.
Okay. No chocolate for you. Thank you very much.
You mentioned this is for the asbestos, and I was wondering, there was mentioned lead in a little bit of the rationale. Have we any indication at all that there might be some lead abatement in there also, or are we just hoping about?
No, we don't have an indication of that at this moment, but at this point, we wanted to add that as a scope. If we encounter it, then we already have the purchase order. This is a purchase order. If we don't encounter things or activate the service, then the purchase order would have a balance.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman? Mrs. Marcus is a yes. 5-0, it passes. Okay, I'll a motion for 13B, please.
I will move ratification of an agreement with Quality Fence Company, Inc. to provide temporary fence installation at Beverly Hills High School Village.
Okay.
I will second.
Thank you. Motion moved by Mrs. Walker-Schuman, seconded by Mr. Margot. This is, do we have any discussion or comments on this? I believe this was the one that's at the high school. We don't have anything on the other one right now. Okay. So, this is the fence installation. I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Nope. Nothing? Call for the question. Dr. Stern? Yes. Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That's okay. 13C, approval. Oh, need a motion, please.
Make a motion for the approval of Amendment Number 1 to the pre-construction services agreement with ProWest constructors for the high school South Campus modernization project.
Second, please.
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Margot, and made the motion. Mrs. Walker-Schuman seconded it. Any comments or questions on this item? Okay, we'll go Mr. Margot. Your hand I saw first.
Don, I want a little more clarification because the engineering and the design of the project were not completed. Is that the reason that the extension is necessary?
That's partly it. Actually, we increased the scope significantly by adding the Veneco restoration piece to the project. It would have otherwise been handled by ARB, and the amount of money that they were asking for on a time material contract to put that into the Pro West GMAX that is in play would be a fraction of the cost. That said, that involved negotiations with DTSC, which took until 2 weeks ago to resolve what the scope was going to be. The scope's pretty intense. It's all of the piping underground, basically everything that was left behind, including the encapsulated concrete in that area, is quite extensive. So the engineering and estimating, and frankly, putting together what was going to end up being a design build for the retaining wall for the mitigation of the Veneco site. And the other issue is that our agencies that we deal with, particularly on the retaining wall because of its size, is the California Seismic. They have jurisdiction over some engineering concepts that affect soil. So we've gone back and forth between that agency and successfully had a ruling in our favor that affected the soils conditions and the design for this particular wall. So it took longer. We're expecting to get to DSA before June, but we also have taken the time with DSA to counsel with them and confer with them on the philosophy and the design. So when it goes into DSA, we're anticipating avoiding a back check. So those are the reasons why it's taken so it's longer on the design side, but less risk for back check.
So just to clarify from the first thing you said, the extension of time is based on the change in the scope of work, and then the scope of work added to the design and engineering. Yes. Is that correct? I just want to get the chicken egg order correct on this. Okay, thank you, Mr. Blake.
Okay, Mrs. Wells, I saw your hand on that.
I had another question, which was about how this fits into the overall site work plan. I know this is an amendment, but I recall just seeing site work, not the separating of this area of site work. Is this replacing that, or is this still part of that?
Well, the strategy that we used, I think I mentioned to you when we visited on the subject of the strategy for the site plan, we put the retaining wall in a separate A number. And the strategy was in order to advance and not have a gap in the construction. So we were simultaneously designing the grading and for the baseball field, for the football field. The site work, the south side work, is the ball fields, the football field, and the demolition of the Konheim building. It would have had the demolition of Building H, which we took down in order to mitigate the Orwell 107. So we separated, quote, site work. It's still within the bond plan in terms of scopes. We just separate this particular component, which is retaining wall and the restoration of the Veneco site. as one A number at DSA.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I guess this is going to be the area where the part of the athletic field on the south side, right?
Yes.
Okay, ready to call for the question. Dr. Stern,
Yes.
Mr. Margot,
Yes.
Mrs. Wells,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman,
Yes.
and Mrs. Marcus is a yes vote. Okay. The next item, which was moved from the communications, is now up to the Facilities and Construction Advisory Committee. Every member of the committee will be appointing somebody to this new committee, and I will start first with you, Dr. Stern.
Thank you so much. Okay, I would like to appoint Ori Blumenfeld. He is a senior associate lawyer at Margulis Faith, at law offices of Margulis and Faith. He is a man who has his expertise in complex bankruptcy and corporate restructuring. Currently, he is a commissioner of the Human Relations Commission. He has a wealth of experience in all sorts of litigation related to property, buildings, facilities, municipal codes, and I think he would make a fantastic asset to the Facilities Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Margot.
Thank you. I'm going to appoint Mr. Howard Goldstein, a former board member who has served on both the CBOC and the Construction Advisory Committee with Mr. Blake, has extensive knowledge of the district construction program and history here as being part of the board that put a lot of these projects in motion. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Wells.
Thank you. I would like to appoint Bernard Kamine. He's a construction law attorney. He's currently now in private practice. He graduated from Harvard Law School. Besides representing clients, he regularly serves as an arbitrator and mediator in construction cases, and he has served on the board of Public Works Standards. In addition, he has many legal writings. He wrote Public Works Construction Manual, a legal guide for California, and he has written over a dozen bills that have been enacted into law. He lives in Beverly Hills, and he is a retired colonel in the Infantry Division of the United States Army Reserves and a member of several community organizations. And I'm delighted to appoint him to this committee.
Thank you. Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
I'm going to appoint Jake Manister, who is a Beverly Hills resident for the past 21 years. He's the former president and governing board member of BHUSD Board of Education, a former Beverly Hills City Commissioner, a former member of the original BHUSD Facilities Planning Committee for measures K, S, and E, and the Citizens Oversight Committee and BHEF. He is a current member of the Beverly Hills Disaster Communication System and presently sits on several industry boards as an advisor to associations, major corporations, and California state officials. He is an active member of the California Bar and performs and oversees licensed construction services throughout the state of California. And I'd like to note that we now have 4 lawyers that are working for free on this facilities committee.
We're going to balance out our legal fees.
Wait, you're going to get a fifth one.
A fifth?
You're
Is
getting
it
a
all
fifth one.
lawyers? Guys,
I think I heard.
We should just slip them the work.
I heard we have a man, a man, a man, a man. I'm going to give you a woman.
Oh, thank you.
So I am going to announce that I'm going to appoint Donna Triffman. Donna Triffman is an advocate for children as a defense attorney. She is a parent in the district, and she was a recent candidate for the school board. I think she will bring a very unusual and a very good perspective to the committee, and I'm looking forward to the committee getting started and getting going, and I think you all made excellent choices, and I thank you all for your appointments. Okay, we're now moving on to the professional and official business. I need a motion for the approval of resolution. Can I get one?
I'll move approval of Resolution 2020-2021-031, BHUSD Student Bill of Rights.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second. Thank you. Motion was moved by Mrs. Walker-Schuman and seconded by Dr. Stern. Any discussion on this? I would like to make some, but if somebody wants to go before me, go ahead, Mr. Margot.
I did. I appreciate this, and I had asked this question about item number 14 specifically on this Bill of Rights. Says all students have the right to access hygienic, ventilated, and renovated facilities and bathrooms. And I just wanted to reiterate the fact that a lot of problems that we've had with restrooms in the past have been because of students damaging graffiti, breaking things. So I wanted to know if, and I noticed that the author of this isn't with us right now, I don't think, but are the students prepared to stand by this as well? We don't have a Bill of Rights we can force on them per se, although they do have contracts with their schools when they start that they're going to behave, but especially regarding the new facilities that will be opening up next year, and will they take care of those? It didn't take a long time for them to start going after this building and the bathrooms in this building when this was new. I just want to make sure it's heard clearly that we'd be happy to follow this Student Bill of Rights and provide you with all of those things. Renovated facilities, by the way, is not necessarily a guarantee. That should be explicit. There are school buildings that are already built that have already been renovated, maybe a few years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, maybe a decade ago. Those aren't up for renovation anytime soon in any of the current bond measures. So I hope they understand that and do their part. We need to make sure they're ventilated. We need to make sure they're serviced correctly. They need to make sure they're hygienic as well. That's not a responsibility that just falls upon the district. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there and people understood that we would be happy to abide by these Student Bill of Rights as long as students abide by the contracts they sign with the schools every year.
If I would like to make a comment. If anybody else wants to make the comment first, I would be okay. First of all, Yoni, you are listening to what we are saying, so you understand our concern, and I think that's something you can take back. I don't know if Igig is with us right now. Is she at all on the Zoom? I'm not sure.
I also spoke to her today too.
Well, can I finish then? Just let me finish. So I just want to comment on the work that they did on this. I thought was incredible, and I think the experience was really wonderful, and they were willing to accept people making suggestions, and they went back and they really worked on them. And I know that I thought that there were several that could have been combined and so on, and they really looked into them. And when I made the last suggestion, and I really did take a lot of time with them, they came back and said, no, that would remove the meaning that we really had, and we really want to keep it the way it is, though I had made the suggestion for them to, hi, Agig. Hi, thank you for joining us.
Again.
I hope you've been listening. So I know, Mr. Seaman, come back. I don't.
Oh, no, she's got it.
Oh, she's got it. Okay, so I'm going to call on Agig. Okay, thank you. I didn't. Good, I'm glad. Let her speak. I'd rather hear her. No, I'm joking. Yeah.
Can I address the comment about the bathrooms?
Absolutely.
Please.
Thank you for bringing that up. I absolutely agree with you. I've seen the comments on the bathrooms, and I understand that renovated facilities are not a guarantee. I just think that it should be on the bill. And I do want to say that as students, I upheld the idea that we are also responsible for the cleanliness and hygiene, and the fact that our facilities should be hygienic and nice to look at, I think. So in my time in this district, I will make sure that that happens.
I appreciate that. And the same could be said as the campus in general. Use the trash cans, careful what we dispose of in the stairwells, all of those things. And I just think it really helps build morale. We talk about morale building in the community when you're proud of the place you go to learn. And as much as the district can do to keep that up, to keep that high standard, students can play an important part of that as well.
I also just wanted to say that some of these things that have been written on bathrooms and in other places on campus are older. So I think that's also something to keep in mind.
I was going to mention all of that. The idea that not only the bathrooms, but the pride of the whole community and the surroundings and the environment of the school district, are responsibility of the students and the everybody. So, besides just the bathrooms, I think, as what Mr. Marco pointed out, we have a responsibility, and so do the students, to do what they can to keep our place looking really nice. And it involves not only the bathrooms, but the whole campus, is the way I look at it.
And I also think that, this really opens up kind of the next phase, which is more of an awareness phase, because, there are a lot of people that are at home that this bill represents as students. And so, it doesn't just get signed and, we move on. Students need to be aware of this. So there's kind of that next campaign that happens afterwards, because students need to be aware of, there's some accountability. There's accountability for staff. Now there's accountability for students, and working together, that's how we can make sure that we uphold these resolutions so that they're just not passed and put away.
I totally agree with you, and that is my next step.
Great. We're happy to work with you on that.
Thank you for joining us. Have you anything else you'd like to add, Agig, or anything? No?
I just want to say thank you for just all the guidance, Mr. Seaman and Dr. Reggie and your team. I'm really happy if the district passes this document, and I think it's just a step towards all the amazing things that we as students can do in this district. Thank you.
Yeah, we've loved working with you too.
And congratulations on the decathlon also, academic decathlon. Okay, so we'll call for the ratification of the 14A, the resolution. Dr. Stern? Yes. Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so it passes 5-0. Okay, I need an emotion for item 14B, please.
An emotion?
The 14B?
I'll make it. I move approval of the resolution number 2020-2021-032, denouncing xenophobia and anti-Asian American and Pacific Islander sentiment due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and reaffirming the district's commitment to the well-being and safety of Asian Americans.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Margot. Mrs. Walker-Schuman, motion, and seconded by Mr. Margot. Any comments or questions about this? Anybody?
Just a comment?
Yeah.
I read this, and it's an unfortunate state of affairs that we even have to pass a resolution like this. I think our district is a very tolerant one, and it's already a safe place to learn. The second resolution part on the second page, where it affirms its commitment to providing a safe, welcoming environment for all students, parents, teachers, other school employees, and visitors of any race, ethnicity, and national origin. Those are the key words that really should blanket over everything. And the fact that this is actually the third resolution we are making, singling out a specific group. But we also need to remember that as a district, that part that I just read should be our overlying theme. That should be our overlying practice. I believe it is. We're not 100% pure, but I would like to reach toward that. And I hope that we don't have to do these anymore. I hope that the message is well received by the district, by the community, by the student population, and that people think about, wait a minute, the board has voted, since the pandemic has started, 3 different resolutions on 3 different groups affirming that we denounce the racism and the sexism, all this stuff, discrimination. And I think we've beat this point. So hopefully we don't have to do this anymore.
I agree.
Hopefully the message is out there that no matter who you are welcomed.
Maybe the next time we do one, we just make it all-inclusive.
Right, and that second part here does make it all-inclusive, actually. Yeah. It says any. So I just want to point that out and gladly support this and hope that the country can move in a better direction and we can be part of that solution.
Okay, call for the motion. I'm so sorry. I didn't see your hand.
It's It's okay. I just wanted to say, as a Japanese American, that I think that it is so important, given what is happening, that that we as a district speak out, especially in terms of building awareness. And it's unfortunate that this has to be a topic, but sometimes we just have to speak out, and I really appreciate it. So I'm really glad we're doing this.
Okay, I'll call for the question. Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. Okay. Okay, we're about to go to board comments. I'm going to make a statement, just a short statement before I start. I've heard from Mrs. Walker-Schuman. She would like to go last. I will give her the same courtesy that I gave to Mrs. Wells last week, and that is I will still be last, but she will, so I will skip you on your turn, and you'll get that same opportunity. Before I start, I would like to make a comment, and I would like to read something from the governance handbook that says that the trust number one, and this is just the board comments from the board members. Board members should keep their comments to 3 minutes or less. What was that?
You hit the mic quickly.
Oh. Trustees try to avoid repeating comments already made by other trustees. Number 3, trustees focus their comments on attendance at school functions, attendance at community events, or board trustee development activities. And I would like to remind us that that comes from our governance handbook. Thank you, and I will call on Dr. Stern.
I'm sorry, I'm making a comment, or?
This is a board comment now. Mr. Margot.
Were we going to go to Yoni first, or?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Yoni.
Just the class of 2023 is having a Seas Candy fundraiser until the 21st of this month. So make sure to support, especially if you're a sophomore. Thank you and good night.
I'm going to run out and buy some Seas candy. Dr. Stern? Mr. Margot?
Thank you. I'm going to quickly say that last Thursday was hopefully an outlier for this board. Things ran a little hot, and we had some personal issues that we aired in public. Hopefully, I trust that we can move on, put it aside, get back to the work of the board, the work of educating our students, the best quality that we can give them, supporting our staff and our community. And it's time for us to just move on from all this. Thank you.
Mrs. Wells.
Well, I'd just like to echo what Noah said, Mr. Margot said. I agree, and I'm looking forward to focusing on the issues of our district for the betterment of our students and community. So thank you.
Mrs. Walker-Schuman.
I also will echo Noah's sentiments. I think it's really important to be able to move forward from clear missteps. So my comments are going to focus on reviewing the upsides of our
I can't
meeting.
hear you. Can you speak a little louder, please?
I'm going to focus my comments on the upsides of our meeting from today. I wanted to reiterate my congratulations to the Academic students and their wonderful teacher, Ms. Fine. I want to thank Ellie Norman Franks and for all of that she does in working on mental health awareness programs and giving our kids such broad, deep, and responsive programs. For the I4 coaches and Karen Lagola for outstanding work supporting our teachers in technologically challenging environment. To Wade in the business office for all of your support in getting the audit completed. Your diligence is remarkable. I want to acknowledge the Knoxville shooting, and I'm going to simply express my gratitude and appreciation for BHPD, our union security staff, district security staff, and our armed security staff for keeping our kids safe on campuses, keeping our kids and staff and campuses safe. I want to thank the community for vigilantly supporting the security program that continues to grow and meet the moment. And I'd like to give a reminder that tomorrow is a pupil-free day. So just in case anybody missed that, nobody goes to school tomorrow. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to mention that I believe we have a dance program or something this Friday. I would like, Yoni, do you know anything about I think, is it this Friday or is it the following Friday? I think it's it's at the middle school. Thank you. Yeah, and if for those that might want to attend it, and I just want to let that this meeting is adjourned.